find it, we'll need a starship.
A starship? There are no starships on Nimbus 3.
Perhaps I have a way to bring one here.
But how?
Have faith, my friend. There are more of us than you know.
You're a Vulcan.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
This is Cheapseat Reviews.
And I am just getting started violating Cheap Zone Treaty here. Because the logic is my D.
And since there's only one Klingon there, the chances of it being a glory hole are really low.
Hello, and thank you for listening to Cheap Seat Reviews, the podcast that explores the Hollywood film industry for the greater good.
The greater good.
This is episode 420. 420. All right. All the jokes about the 420. Here you go.
No one was thinking it but you.
Yeah.
You're the heathen.
I know. That's fine. Episode 420. The way it was supposed to work, this is a little inside baseball. The way this was supposed to work, but episode 420 was actually supposed to be the episode that we did with The World's End, which would have been, I think, kind of funny. But things didn't work out that way, so
makes more sense.
Here we go. So, episode 420, and tonight we're talking about Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. That's right. This is our month-long Star Trek marathon. That's not the word I would use, but that's what we're going to say for now. And I'm so very excited because we've done a few Star Trek films in the series on our show. We've done Into Darkness, Wrath of Khan, and Undiscovered Country. I think, right? We've done Undiscovered Country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this whole month is Star Trek?
This whole month is Star Trek.
Did I know? I knew this.
You did know this. Well, it's also been 2 weeks since you were here in the last time we spoke.
True. Yeah. Hey, everyone. I missed you.
Yeah, we missed you too last week, but
Hashtag where November has gone before, Andrew.
I love it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You can have that one. That one's for free.
Yeah. No, we're going to have to start using that. You said that earlier, and I forgot to use it in the thing to post tonight. So I am Captain Sean Allred, and joining me tonight is Andrew. Keeps his booster rocket boots under his bed, Jemison.
These boots are made for skywalking.
Nice.
You're welcome.
I like
You're
that.
welcome.
That's good. I would use that in the intro, but it's too close to the intro. So
It is too close.
Yeah, that's fine. We got to spread it out a little bit. And making their I always say triumphant, but making their almost reluctant return. No, they're making their excited return. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Their final frontier return. That's also terrible. I apologize, guys. Is Jesse. When he shoots space trash, it always screams in pain.
It's true, and every cat woman that I throw into a tub of water might suddenly be dead.
Yeah. And electrocute or something.
Two of my notes just crossed off already.
And Cameron, wait a minute. There are no swords or sorcery in this movie.
I'm flattered, Sean. 1,200 podcasters in Yosemite, and you picked me.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's because you were there. Both of you are co-hosts of the Open Pike Night podcast. So, first of all, you guys have a freaking awesome podcast. You've had some really awesome guests. Please, Jesse, take a few moments to tell us about Open Pike and why I forced you on to talk about Star Trek V.
Well, Sean graciously is giving us space to explain that though Cameron already possesses a Star Trek podcast, which of course is Green Shirt, a newbie's trek through the next generation,
Thank you,
and
Jesse.
the producer from that show, John, could not be here with us tonight due to, I don't know, let's say space things. We decided, what if we got together and made a podcast about a TV show that's on now instead of like 30 years ago, which is how my other podcast, Sudden But Inevitable, also works. So we took the opportunity to make a Strange New Worlds podcast, and in an effort to stand out in the field of 1,000 very good Star Trek podcasts, we thought, okay, we're going to need a hook. We're going to need something that makes us different. And what makes us different is that we are a call-in show, thus the name Open Pike Night. We have a stage where we let other people join us and ask questions about the show and talk about how they feel about each episode. And as Sean alluded to, now that we're in our off season, we're doing a series of interviews with the cast and creatives behind the show. So far, we've talked to Melissa Navia, who is the pilot, Lieutenant Ortegas. We've spoken, we've spoken with Matthew McFadgen, who played the Romulan commander in the final episode of the season. We spoke with Dan Janot, Sam Kirk, the Kirk you never knew you needed, but now can't live without. And I mean, that's on top of a list of writers like Bill Wolkoff, Onitra Johnson, Akela Cooper. And we recently spoke with the showrunner, Henry Alonzo Myers. That's not out yet, but it is going to be out soon. So, yes, we have just been having so much fun with our new Star Trek podcast, Open Pike Night, and we have been warmly embraced by the Star Trek community. And I think that's why Sean invited us on. Either that, or it's because he knows that one of us is like a Star Trek apologist, and the other of us is very good at being media literate.
I think
Jesse, sorry, I have a real quick idea for the show. Your guest there that you've had on this is fantastic, but I really think you could land Shatner. Just send a message that says "free trip to space." Call this number, and he's all about that apparently.
You don't think he's already done that, and like we need something new? We need to do the next big thing.
He wants to go again.
Here's the thing:
weeping for it.
I think he really does not ever want to go again at all. When he was there and he got back, they were like, "What did you think?" And he was like, "It was terrifying. Like to look into the void was just deeply unsettling." And it's like, that's probably how most normal people would feel, you know? I mean, but to your point, I think Shatner is probably not representative of most normal people.
That makes me wonder, like, it would be a great experiment to have someone direct a Star Trek movie, then send them into space to stare into the void, and then have them direct another Star Trek movie and see what the difference is, especially someone like Shatner.
I'm sorry, are you campaigning for them to let Shatner direct a movie now?
100%. I want a follow-up to Final Frontier.
Okay, the finalist Frontier.
Look, I'll never forget when, after the 2009 Trek came out, the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards for Best Sci-Fi Movie went to that movie, and Chris Pine was supposed to accept the award, and Shatner went on stage to accept the award and literally said, "Thank you for my award for directing Star Trek V." And then
that's impressive.
Yeah, and then made the joke. He goes, "No, I'm serious. No, but this is a fine film. You got, I'm not in it though. Why am I not in it?" like, well, because your character died.
We'll
get into this. Star Trek before.
We'll get into this, I'm sure. But if Jesse and Cameron don't know this, I am not a Trekkie by any means.
Mm-hmm.
What?
I'm not. And is this the first and only film he directed, or did he do others?
The only Star Trek film.
Right. Well, that's
mostly what else he's done is documentaries, some TV stuff. I think maybe only one other movie. I was just looking at his IMDb actually just before jumping on here, and there was, like, he does a lot of Star Trek documentaries.
I'm going basically on my memory at this point. I'm not. I mean, I'm on IMDb, but I haven't gotten there yet.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't he run a TV show called Net Trek?
Trek Wars?
Tech Wars.
Tech Wars?
That's what you're thinking. And that was a book. Tech War was a book. It may have become a show, actually.
It did become a show, and he did direct a number, not a lot, but a few episodes of it.
I do. But I thought he was like the showrunner of it, like not just the director, but like the creative.
Well, he wrote the books, and so he
that,
probably, probably had show running credit. But so to explain, Andrew, the admiral in the beginning of the movie that is trying to get a hold of him via like scratchy video phone, that's like the other executive producer from the movie. So it's like Shatner basically went, it feels to me, with zero real research, just like, memory garbage. It feels to me like he just went to Star Trek The Machine and went, "Can I have one?" And they went, "Fine."
Yeah.
Very good.
So I mean,
Like-
so Andrew, have you
I
seen?
think he said he wasn't going to return unless he got a direct one, right?
There we
There's
go.
a whole story about like him and Nimoy kind of having some tension because Nimoy was getting to direct and he hadn't yet.
Well, and after the success of number 4, The Voyage Home, the one with the whales, you could see where, Shatner might be considered in a prime position of leverage to go, "Oh, who's your second choice to play Captain Kirk in Star Trek 5?" Like, so that, I could understand it. I'm not saying it was the right thing to do, but I could understand it.
Sure.
So Andrew, which of these have you seen?
Now, I've seen all of them, but I am not I think maybe 5 years ago, I sat down and just watched all. They were streaming on something, and I sat down and watched from the beginning, as far as the movies are concerned,
Mhm.
all the way to whatever the last one was.
Nemesis?
But see,
Yeah.
that's the thing. I haven't seen them enough to even know what. I've seen them once, basically.
That's
so
fair. Okay.
my memory of a lot of them are very vague. The only one that really sticks with me is my favorite, which is Wrath of Khan.
That's cool.
The
That's
best
cool.
one.
Yeah.
That's fine. So we're getting ready to do the read here for IMDb, and then we'll get into 5-word reviews. But I feel like we're gonna have to have this conversation, and I think we should brace the listener that this is gonna be an episode of length. Let's just go ahead and say that. But
All the episodes with me are, Sean.
well, you're not wrong, Jesse. But not having Sam here does kind of I think help a little bit with that. But I guess the question we're gonna have to ask. Is this the worst Trek film? And I don't want to answer that right this second. We're going to get there, though. I feel like that's a conversation that needs to be had because we were kind of bounced. It was bounced around on Twitter, before we started recording, and in the little sci-fi chat group that we're in. And basically, because someone was like, "Hey, is this worse than which one is worse, The Rise of Skywalker or this movie?" And
Actually, what happened was I said, "This movie is better than Rise of Skywalker," and somebody in the chat was like, "Oh, that's my content for today." But I digress.
No, I missed that part. All I saw was the post about them
It's
putting
okay.
that up there. Yeah, I missed the own, which
I'm
is great because I was
totally
like, wow, that's oddly what we're doing tonight. We're talking about this movie. That's how weird was that. So obviously, I missed that context there. So we'll get into that. But before all that, we must follow the script in front of me that says Andrew will now tell us what this movie is.
Captain Kirk and his crew must deal with Mr. Spock's long-lost half-brother who hijacks the Enterprise for an obsessive search for God at the center of the galaxy.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that actually works pretty well. So good on you, whoever wrote that at IMDb, who's better than most of the people that do them.
Yes.
Probably a Trekkie.
Probably.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's probably a good point. All right. 5-word reviews. Andrew, what you got?
All right. According to, and this is not 5 words, just forewarning. According to Star Trek 5, God lives in Uranus. This planet, when I saw it, I thought, that's Uranus. I don't know what it was, but it was in my mind when I saw whatever it was called, chakra something.
Yeah.
But I saw it and I was like, that's Uranus. So God lives in Uranus. And then number 2, the greatest enterprise of all is not this one. And I think that's like the catchphrase for this movie is the greatest enterprise of all is adventure or some crap. But to sort of answer your question, not having a great memory of all the others, I did not enjoy this movie. As a matter of fact, you know how I say it's a good movie if it keeps my attention and I don't want to look at my phone and all that. It wasn't the fact that I was literally falling asleep. There were moments my wife was sitting beside me and she was poking me in the forehead because she would see me start to nod off and she would poke me in the forehead and say, "Are you sleeping?"
You're forcing us to watch this and you're going to sleep through it, asshole?
I just did not do it for me. And I think that there's some bad acting in this, and I can see why Shatner only was allowed to direct one. And there's just some weird choices, and I'm sure we'll talk about all the random weirdness that happens throughout this movie, but it's just not good. It's not.
Yeah, I I don't think there's going to be a lot of disagreement on that. I think where we might get some disagreement on is the varying degrees of not good. Maybe, I don't know. For all I know, Jesse's going to come on here and say it's his second favorite Star Trek. I don't know, but we'll find out. All right, so yeah, I don't. You're not. I will say this. I watched this not only last night, but also about 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And that's because I was having, it was right before I started my new job, and I was sick. I mean, I was like, it wasn't COVID, but I'm pretty sure I had the flu. I mean, it was,
Yeah.
I felt like death warmed over. And so my son comes into the bedroom and goes, "Hey, Dad, I know you're not really feeling well, but do you want to watch some Trek movies?" I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, I know that'll probably make you feel better." And I said, "Sure." So he and I had already watched Star Trek 2 together. We skipped one. If I'm going to try to get a 10-year-old to watch Star Trek, the motion picture is not the way to start.
Right.
So we watched the second one, and he liked it. So then we watched the third one together, and he goes, "I actually really like that one, Dad. I thought that was kind of cool." I said, "All right, well, that's neat." He goes, "Can we just go ahead and watch the fourth one?" "Yeah, sure." So we watched the fourth one. And he goes, "Wow, Dad, that was cool," because he really liked the whales, and he also liked the cursing. He thought that was pretty funny because there's a lot of cursing. I had forgotten how much cursing is in that movie. So, but Declan would say stuff like, "Can I say double dumbass?" "No, you're 10. You can't say stuff like that." And then he said, "Hey, well, Mom's not home because I think my wife had to go somewhere." He says, "Let's just go ahead and do the fifth one." I'm like, "Okay, here we go." And so we rolled straight.
You asked for it.
We rolled straight into 5, and we watched it. And again, a 10-year-old, he enjoyed it. He laughed at it. He thought it was fine. He had zero problems with it. And so watching it with a 10-year-old was actually a lot of fun because it kind of
Yeah.
allowed me to watch it kind of for the, through his eyes for the first time. And like, you know what? There's a lot to this movie that's actually kind of fun and charming that to a 10-year-old, it's okay. Because
I could see that.
there's also, I mean, this is with, I think, arguably the funniest of the Trek. I mean, there's some jokes in 4, right? Between the, do you like Italian? No,
Some
yes, no.
jokes. Some
4 is
jokes in
funnier
four-
than
four is a
4 is
comedy.
funnier than 5.
4 is a
Yeah.
comedy. You're right. It is a space
Yeah.
comedy. It absolutely is.
Space. Well, it's an Earth comedy.
That is an
Well,
Earth
let me
comedy.
ask this
It's an
question,
80s
because-
comedy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask this question. Because as I was watching this one, I thought to myself, God, this is cartoony.
Okay,
So
let me
is it
rephrase.
comedy or is it cartoony?
Let me rephrase to Cameron's point and Jet's point. Yeah, 4 is the funny one. It is funny because the jokes are funny. It's better written. This one, I think, is trying to be funny, but instead we get pratfalls and
Yeah.
there's some more physical comedy and stuff like that. But it still has some comedy, and for some reason, I don't know why, but I found myself laughing a lot more the second time, especially when I was pulling clips. I mean, I pulled, I don't know, 9 clips for this movie.
Wow.
And to me, most of them are pretty funny. So maybe isolated, they'll be funnier than when they are in the movie. We'll find out. Jesse, why don't you go ahead and hit us with your 5-word review?
Was that your 5-word review, Sean?
No, I haven't given mine yet.
Okay.
That's a lot of words.
So I have 2, obviously, because I have listened to your show and I know that's allowed. And the first one, obviously, has been, I don't know if spoiled is the right word, but my first one is better than Rise of Skywalker, which I don't think is really like a hot take. I think that's one of the colder takes I've brought to your show. But my important, all-encompassing, actual 5-word review for this movie is actually only 4 words. And it's McSpurk versus non-Connery. Because as Star Trek fans will know, they desperately wanted Sean Connery to play the role of Sybok in this movie. So much so that the planet Shakari is named after Sean Connery. And it's like a nod to, wouldn't it have been great if we had gotten him, which we didn't do. So callback to that joke in the most recent Lower Decks was, I think, Boimler goes to a moon called Shatanari 4 or something like that, and runs into Sulu. Mick Spurk, of course, is the trio of McCoy, Spock, and Kirk. And right away, I mean, this movie is about this throuple of guys, right? Like, I mean, McCoy is full on dressed as a lesbian during the rock climbing scene. We've got Capitan on Capitan action, and Spock is just there mothering both of them just in case, right? So it's a beautiful illustration of the friendship of these three characters, which of course are the big three, right? These are the three characters that define the original series of Star Trek. So I think, again, to fall back on a Lower Decks thing, is this a great movie? No. But it is a Star Trek movie, and that means that it is worth doing. And I think that also means that it's worth watching.
Okay. I love the word thruple. I don't know why. I just like that word.
Good.
It's fun to say.
It is fun to say. I don't think it gets used enough. A thruple. I'm just going to start saying we are this podcast are a thruple, Andrew. You and Sam and I.
So can I make thrup cakes when we have our party?
Yes.
Okay.
As long
Sounds
as
like a row-up cakes.
yeah,
I know.
As long as you eat them first, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, they sound awful. I don't know what they are, but I'm not appetizing.
There's chunks in mine.
Oh,
Yeah, it sounds like they would have chunks. That's kind of my
Sinewy.
point. Yeah.
oh my god. All right, Cameron, what you got?
Oh. Yeah. All right. Well, like Jesse, I've now been on long enough to know that I can break the rules, and I am just getting started violating Cheap Zone Treaty here. All right. So my first one is the most 80s Trek ever. I'm going to stand by that. We can dive into that later.
Even though one of them takes place in the 80s, which
I
is
know,
impressive.
But I still think this one is more unironically just wallows in the pastiche of the 80s.
I think I agree.
But my second one, probably most real thoughts are, this is great. Oh, never mind. And then to kind of more describe that is, this one is not 5 words. What does Trek need with a third act?
Oh, nice.
Not much.
Yeah.
Well, I would say something, but not the writers of this movie.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, basically, every time I watch it, and this time I was kind of prepared for it, but I'm always like, oh, here comes the bad Trek. Here it comes. Let's get into it. And for a good hour of the movie, I'm like, what the heck are people talking about? This is a lot of fun. It's cheesy. It's not as aware of itself as the other movies, and maybe not a great way, but like it feels like a fun 80s. It feels like an 80s sword and sorcery movie in a lot of ways. You got parts of Mad Max and Star Wars and Conan in there, and Total Recall. Yeah, it's just all swirled together. It's a lot of fun. It is funny. There are moments that I am laughing out loud throughout here. Shatner, for any other faults he has, can direct a comedy scene. He knows the timing, and just the interplay between those three, the trio that Jesse was talking about, is fantastic. And then they enter the Great Barrier, and it just starts falling apart from that point on.
It's also very long for such a short movie.
Yeah.
Like you look at the runtime and you're like, oh, cool, yeah, let's knock this out. Let's make notes on this for Cheapseat Reviews. And then you're like halfway through the movie, you're like, God, okay, I gotta get a snack and like text some people and pause this and come back to it. Like, I just need some time. Like, wow, okay, it's been an hour. Okay, all right. Okay,
it's the cinematic
all right.
version of setting up your Axis and Allies game with all your friends, and it's taking a
Nice.
long time, but the pieces are getting in place. You're getting your army moved across Europe just how you want it. The tanks are ready to blitz, and then your little sister runs in and then runs across the board, scattering everything, and it just ends suddenly.
You have no idea how much it warms my heart to hear you say Axis and Allies.
I was hoping someone would appreciate the reference.
Oh my god.
Well, and speaking of badass names for things, like the Final Frontier is a badass name.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I'm happy that that belongs to a Trek movie, but it does sort of lend you to like, I wish the end of this was better. Like, what is
Right.
like? Are you literally trying to tell me that the Final Frontier is the friends we made along the way? Because wow.
That's all.
The-
That's all. Yeah.
Yeah, the Final Frontier to me says the series is over. Like Enterprise is decommissioned. We're done. Like, that's what the Final Frontier says to me. This one,
So to your
said more
point
like-
though, the next movie was the end of it. So
Right,
and it didn't
right.
even have the whole cast. But you're correct that it should have been like, oh, let's make a nice, gestural arc toward the end of this story. And they were like, nah.
So, while you guys have been pontificating, I realized a egregious error in my
No,
clips. There was one clip that I did not pull, so I had to queue up the movie. So when it comes time for clips, because there was one that I couldn't believe that I skipped. So I'm very excited for that.
I thought you were going to say that you had accidentally pulled clips from Rocky 5 instead.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, Sean went back to the beginning of the movie where Shatner went, I think people want to see Kirk's ass a little more, I think we should start the movie with Kirk's ass.
Yes.
But not mine. Stunt doubles.
So clearly not his ass. Like, dude, you're free soloing in that shape? Are you kidding me?
I
Like,
know.
Yeah.
That's the most sci-fi part of the movie.
Captain America may have America's ass, but Captain Kirk has the galaxy's ass, and that's
Right.
what.
That stunt person was doing serious work. Is
Yeah.
all I'm saying. Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is so I mentioned my son. He's watching this, going, "Wait, he's doing this without a harness, or whatever?" I said, yeah, it's called a free climb. He goes, "No, people don't actually do that, do they?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Really? I mean, this is a kid that like the top bunk is a little too high,
Mhm.
So a mountain is nightmare fuel for my kid."
So did
Right.
you show him Free Solo afterwards?
Yep. Right. We watched it where he cut this. Yeah.
No, not
Wait,
that one.
that's
Free Solo.
100
The
Oh,
documentary
that's
about the guy
127.
who
No, free.
who
Yeah, we didn't watch Free
free
Solo.
climbed that mountain.
What were you gonna say, Jesse?
I thought it was. I feel like I have to. Since you mentioned 10-year-olds and Star Wars, I gotta say, like, if this movie is the Star Wars of Star Trek, right? Which it kind of feels like in a lot of ways. Like it arguably does the Star Wars cantina better than Star Wars does in this movie. And Star Wars in general, I like to remind people George Lucas says is for 12-year-olds is how it was designed, which is not a bad thing,
Yeah.
right? Like you can't criticize that movie like you're trying to watch, Fellini or something, right? Like it's designed to be what it is. So all of that having been said, did your son notice that the Book of Boba Fett just totally ripped this movie's plot off for like the first hour? Like,
Well, he
we're
actually
gonna put him in a desert. He's gonna befriend the locals. There's gonna be a whole thing with like a revolution.
he hasn't watched any of the TV stuff, the live action TV, Mando. In fact,
It's a little violent, I guess.
it is a little violent. He actually hasn't watched. He's only seen episodes 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. He's not seen the third one yet because it's PG-13. That's the Revenge of the Sith, and he hasn't watched 7, 8, or 9 because they're PG-13.
Because they're bad. Oh,
And Mother doesn't want him to watch PG-13.
I was going to say,
movies.
that's only a guidance.
Yeah, it's
Right.
I know it's
Yeah, it's
only
not
The
a
parent
law.
gets to decide.
now. To be fair,
you don't have to do.
she doesn't know this, but he and I watched Rogue One together.
That's
about
probably the most adult one.
I was gonna say you
Yeah.
pick the one where literally everyone dies. You're like, here you go, son.
yeah,
But
and
This
it
he
is
is
was
Star
this one.
Wars.
and he was like, I think he was like 7 at the time when he watched it for the first time. So
Okay, so did you explain to him in this movie that McCoy is blatantly racist and that's not okay? Like, you can't just call out people's differences and make fun of them for them if they can't control them, like he does to Spock the entire movie.
well, it's not just this movie. He does it all of the movies. So
Well, right,
Yeah.
but
but no, we didn't really get into any of that stuff. We just my son he was just really fascinated by the whole anything in space he's excited for, right? Like in the spaceships and it's like to him, yeah, the CGI is the wrong word, but the
Effects.
effects are bad in this movie, right? This is clearly not I got Skywalker sound. That's not right. It's clearly not Industrial Light and Magic.
Right.
Because Industrial Light and Magic did the first 4 movies.
Yeah, they were too expensive for this movie, so they had to go with someone else.
Yeah. And which is a shame because you know what I'm saying? Like when you have the success of those first, I mean, you can say what you will. It's a successful franchise after 4 movies.
Yeah.
So the fact that when whoever producing it went to, Paramount and said, "Hey, we need, money to go through Industrial Light and Magic." And they just said, "No, make Styrofoam rocks." It's like, well, okay, like this is, you know what I'm saying? Like this is a beloved franchise. Come on, Paramount. Like,
I will point out that The Wrath of Khan, arguably the most successful Star Trek film, was made on not a lot of money comparatively.
correct.
If I'm not mistaken.
But it was still Industrial Light and Magic doing awesome things.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, yes, it takes place almost entirely on 2 bridges, like 2-3 sets,
Yeah.
right? But you're not wrong at all, and that's totally fair.
But the space battles
the practical effects,
yeah,
the practical effects in this movie are not that bad. Sure, it's dumb to have blue unicorns in your Star Trek desert planet,
sure,
which has the dumbest named city ever on it. But it's okay because they did a good job of making the horses look believably blue and have a small enough horn. And they really went down when he nerve pinched that horse. That was hilarious.
That's a great moment.
You know where they got the extra blue for the horses was from Leonard Nimoy's drag queen eyeshadow.
Oh, and it's light compared to what he wore on TV.
Yeah.
Like on TV, it's almost like kabuki theater makeup. Like it's very heavy. It's really, really toned down in this movie.
So my 5-word reviews are the odd number curse continues.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Andrew, I think you might be aware, any listeners here that are not Trek people, there's kind of a written rule, I guess, so to speak, that if it's an odd number, it's a bad movie. And I don't fully adhere to that rule, but there's a reason why it exists, because it's kind of true. And then my second one, I too did a second one, was a 2-hour TOS episode. TOS is one word. So a 2-hour TOS episode.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
TOS for those non-Trekkies.
Oh, sorry, the original series.
Thank you.
Those old scientists.
Yeah.
Oh.
Those awkward. No, that's an A. Those angular. That's not a word either. I'm gonna stop.
Just yep.
I'm gonna stop. Obtuse. That's a good word. Those obtuse sexies. How's that?
I like that.
There you go. I don't. We watched Shawshank Redemption like 3 nights ago, so I had the word obtuse stuck in my head.
Mm.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying that this one felt the most like an old episode to them, which I'm like, after watching it, I was like, oh yeah, it certainly does. But it's a movie. There's a reason a movie needs to be bigger and mean more than just an episode.
Yeah, I mean,
you can't just get by on like one little twist.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of, I just have to say, I feel like my biggest problem with this movie, as a Trekkie who tries to be accepting and live the ideals of Star Trek whenever I can, it feels sort of like Shatner is punching down on religion in a way that's like, why are you doing this? Like, did somebody try to convert you and you're like, oh, that's it, I'm making a movie about how people who believe in God are crazy? Like, why is it so like the turn is Cybok going, I got a vision from God, and it's like, up until then you're just like, wow, he's really nice and charismatic, and it's like it just feels like a weird direction for a Star Trek movie to go, and then to sort of even abandon that at the end, like, oh no, also he's a great guy and he's gonna make a selfless action here. Like, what is the actual message, to Cameron's point, to the internet's point, to like the point of this movie? It seems to be fine until at the end the movie goes and
Yeah, it sets up
None of that
so many.
stuff.
There's so many good setups in the
Right.
first hour. You're like, what is it? It's about Kirk not having fear. Is it about this friendship? Is it about dying alone? Which is a weird line. Why does Kirk
The
know
crew
that he'll
has
die
betrayed
alone?
him. Like, this should be huge
Yeah.
drama here, but we're all just like, eh.
But I
Well,
do
and I
kind of
think-
disagree, Jesse. I don't feel like it's punching down. Like I feel like it's very blatantly about like televangelism. It's about false prophets. It's about people who use religion to get their means.
Right.
I thought. I don't know what made
No,
it.
I don't disagree with that at all. I just feel like that is an easy swing for Star Trek to take. Like,
Yeah, and I feel like it's like a swing they've
Personally.
taken before, so it feels Star Trek-y.
right. It doesn't feel not Star Trek-y. It just, to me, it feels almost mean-spirited. Like, which I don't think most Star Trek movies do to me.
My problem is that it introduces it and does some interesting things with it, and then and apparently, like Paramount didn't like this, and Roddenberry didn't like that. This was a Shatner idea, and so then it just gets dropped. Like
Right.
every other setup that I just mentioned, it just gets dropped. Like there's the
Right.
great moment where Shatner's like, because our friend Josh from a Brick Pit like brought up like these great themes about because Sybok is trying to make people forget their pain. He's trying to erase past trauma and pain and regret and all these things. And I think somewhere there's this message that like, no, we need this. This is part of us. That's part of who we are. We need to process it. We need to come to terms with it, but we can't just erase it. That's impossible, and it's not who we are. And so there's that great moment where Kirk is like, no, I need my pain. I must have my pain. And you're like, yes, yes. That's the last time that's ever mentioned. What
Yeah.
does his pain have to do with the third act of the movie? What does Sybok learn about trauma or pain that motivates his final turn and selfless act? Nothing.
And I think that goes back to whoever made the point of this is just a long and should have been episodes of the original series and not a movie, because I think that there are so many things in there. Had this movie been an HBO series like Game of Thrones
Mhm.
and stretched out, you could have explored a lot of those avenues that really probably would have been better than what we got.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and
Agreed.
you wouldn't have to set up like a seemingly all-powerful badass who is also a one-shot sort of bad guy. Like,
Are we talking about Sybok or God?
yes. Like, which like, oh, okay, like very cool. Is he going to sacrifice himself? But then like this greater consciousness is going to overpower him and then have a corporeal body. And like, oh, that's so, no, that's not going to, it's, no, there's just a photon torpedo and it's fine. Like,
I mean,
okay.
to the movie's defense, maybe. I'm just Shatner's defense. I don't know all the details, but I know that like they were rewriting to try to appease everyone involved up until production. They ran out of money for the end. I'd be interested to see like what the original end was supposed to be. They ran out of effects, so they kind of had to shift things around. They re-edited the end because test audiences weren't liking it. They cut out like 20 minutes from Shatner's director's cut. I'd be interested to see that. So yeah, I mean, there might have been. It feels like there should be a good movie in here. I think that's why people are upset with this movie. If it was just bad, you can forget it. But like, you see the blueprints of what could be a really good Star Trek movie that just gets shot out the airlock at the end.
Well,
Yeah.
yes. And I'll make one more point and then I promise you guys I'll shut up. But Cam, you're totally right that the line where he goes, "I've always known I'll die alone," is like, what?
That's
Like,
a
where-
screenwriter line. Someone says it,
where
so you
does-
can pay it off later.
Right. And where does it come from for the character? Because, oh wait, you know what? It might come from a time crystal. He might have touched a time crystal.
All right, guys, it's been really fun
then-
talking with you. I'll see you later. Cameron, Green Shirt 87 at Twitter. Check it out there. It's been a good night.
To Cheapseat Reviews, where we talk nothing about time crystals
But
or about nothing but time crystals.
And the sad part
for those
is
of
that
you not in the know, time crystals are a real thing that have been used in Star Trek to, very displace people's consciousnesses temporally.
Sean,
is
you're the
how it
host. You can cut off the
says it
time
works.
crystal talk whenever you want. Just go
My
ahead.
point-
Cut them off.
I'm done here, Cameron. My point being, it seems like Kirk is trying to say there's some mechanism by which I have seen my fate, and then
what?
that
A Star Trek
then
captain
that doesn't
dealing with
happen.
fate?
Right, but then that doesn't get paid off.
Yeah.
So it's, but
It
yeah,
doesn't
I
get set
love.
up
Well,
for a
it does
payoff.
get paid off. There actually is a payoff at the end when he says, "I thought I was going to die," and this when Spock says the line, "But you were never alone." That's the payoff.
Right. But that's false stakes. That's him going, I thought there were stakes, and Spock going, you are wrong. There were not stakes.
Well, I
know that.
literally because you're right. That's one of the few things from the beginning that gets set up that does get a payoff.
Yeah.
And when Spock says it, I had two reactions. I went, "Oh yeah," and I had a little bit of chills because Trek's always been about friendship, and we do love these friends. So I did get chills from that. I was like, "Oh, what a great payoff!" And then I went, I'd completely forgotten about that line. Like they could have really milked that scene with like Kirk on the planet alone for the first time. He said he doesn't fear anything before. Let's see fear. Let's see what Kirk looks like when he actually thinks he's going to die. We've never seen that before.
Well, and what does he do, right? He curses at the Klingons because they shoot the thing. They shoot
he
God
just
in
acts
the
like
face.
Kirk, yeah.
And then he's like, "Come on, you Klingon bastards! What are you waiting for?" Like he's not scared. He's not having fear.
Yeah.
He's gonna go out cursing this ship that's floating in front of him. And then when he has then he has the line. And of course, like the movie does the thing, and Andrew knows this. I hate it when movies act a certain way only for the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I always use the example of Hans in Frozen, right? Where Hans, when he meets Anna, he knows immediately, oh, I'm going to try to use her to get the crown. So when they have their little song and dance, and then he falls into the water, he has this look of, oh, love. No, he's the
100%.
bad.
It was a cheat.
Yeah. It's just you're cheating the audience because he would literally go, hee, like he would have the evil laugh with that you couldn't see because of the podcast. So like,
thank you, Sean. Thank you. You've just eloquently described my problems with Frozen.
Yeah, well, there's many problems with that movie, but
thank you.
So like in the movie when Kirk is beamed aboard the ship, the Klingons are like manhandling him through the compartment. They wouldn't do that because they all are on the same side. They would escort him.
I don't buy. I buy that.
Oh,
I think it's okay because all Klingons right now hate Kirk.
Yeah.
And they're doing this like reluctantly because they were ordered to.
Yeah, they didn't want to be doing this.
I just think it was just to make us think that he was brought there so that they could kill him in person. Like that was the point of the shot.
No, because they had already set up that the general was going to do a favor. The audience was already in on it. Like that was almost one of the problems. There were no stakes when the Klingon ship showed up. Yeah. We knew he was okay.
Had they not shown the part which is an amazing line read, by the way, when Nimoy says, "Damn you, sir, you will try."
Yeah.
I'm going to say that to people in real life when I want them to get off their ass. Yeah. But I'm going to push back on you. I don't think that just because they revisited the line of dying alone, I don't think that means that they paid it off. I would argue that they didn't do that because we as the audience knew as soon as McCoy and Spock are beamed out of that shuttle, they're working on fixing this. Like, we're not like, oh, they're gone and now Kirk's alone. What's he going to do now that he's alone? Well, we're like, okay, now there's a whole crew going to save him. Like, there's no, again, I don't mean to keep saying there are no stakes. It's just like, but my point is, I don't feel like they paid off that line just because they went back to it. I feel like it was a cheap attempt at paying it off.
Yeah, okay. The line was attempted to pay off, right? Like they're trying to have the payoff.
Yes,
I understand what you mean by.
You can say it wasn't a good payoff, but it was technically a payoff.
That's what I say then.
Yes,
it was a bad payoff.
because there are other moments in Trek, and we all know that Kirk is going to survive until the time that he doesn't. But like, we all know this. But there are other moments in Trek where you really feel like the stakes are legitimate, right? When they get blindsided in Wrath of Khan. Those are some serious stakes. You can feel the tension there. And you know that crew are going to die. Even in Star Trek VI, Undiscovered Country, when they're on that planet walking in, on the ice glacier in Greenland, I think is where they were. Like you can kind of feel, again, they're kind of alone, right? It's a person you don't know. And then Kirk and McCoy, like, the Enterprise is warping on their way there. But like, there feels like there are some stakes as well. But you're not wrong, Jesse. Their friends are just right there. There's not like he's completely alone. So
Well, while we're talking about stakes, I mean, you're right. There are no stakes. The only people who die in this movie die at the hands of our heroes, right? The first villain, Vulcanmort, who sought the forbidden knowledge, he specifically says, no, I didn't want this to happen. I don't want bloodshed. He is a straight hippie. He is introduced as a Vulcan who embraced his animalistic desires. We never see that. He's just a Vulcan who smiles a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And laughs.
Actually, I have to ask, does anybody want to make love with our hearts instead of logic later?
Well,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Go ahead, Cam.
Can't we do both, though?
Yeah. I mean, I prefer one or the other.
Because the logic is my deed.
Ooh.
And so, yeah, so there's that. And then there's this great barrier that no one has returned from. And they just fly right on through like it's
Right.
nothing.
There's no issues.
There's no. I mean, I'm not saying I wanted the Kessel Run from Solo, but I wanted something. The other villain in this movie, the Klingons. The Klingons. Oh my God, the Klingon music. I mean, this movie is worth it just for that.
Well, yeah, we get some.
What do they do? We see them shoot a screaming satellite, to your point. They don't kill anybody. Where's the threat there? They get to God, the big evil God being who shoots some lightning out of his eyes and singes some uniforms. Like, there are no stakes.
Yeah.
Like, let's really kind of hammer in who this imposter God is, what the stakes are if he happens to get a space shuttle and gets out of there. What is going to happen? Why was he imprisoned here eons ago? Jesse, you're right. No stakes.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I thought that when I saw the ship go through the Great Beyond Barrier Reef, whatever, and I thought there's nothing happening here. There should be there should be something.
Something.
You know,
Yeah,
the-
red
Let's
alert,
see the ghost
shields,
ships of
something.
the ones that didn't return before.
Yeah.
Well, I
So-
don't even mean that. There should be some damage to the ship. There should
Yeah.
be some people getting hurt. I mean, I hear, and again, not a Trekkie, but I hear about red shirts. Where are the red shirts? Where are these people that are just the throwaway characters that they need to get killed? That's what is missing here to me.
They've all been killed. They remember at the start of the movie, they're like, we have less than a skeleton crew. It's like
Yeah, that's true. We have a handful
they
of
haven't
people,
replenished
yeah.
our guys yet. So okay, maybe I'm just a contrarian, you guys, but I feel like
Well, maybe.
it's possible, I feel like the barrier is one of the things that I'm okay with because like I get the metaphor they're going for, and I think it actually works, right? Like for there to be so much myth surrounding this barrier, and it's like, well, maybe it's not actually a barrier, maybe it just appears to be a barrier to sensors or to our eyes, right? The myth and the fear of the unknown having a physical representation is fine. But then once you get through that, I think to your point, Andrew, I think it was just the sun. I think it was probably like the first footage we ever had of the sun, but like colored blue. I don't think it was your actual anus.
No, it wasn't, but
yeah.
I felt like it.
Well, I think there was the plasma arcage kind of made me feel like maybe it was a sun footage, but I'm what they call a layman, so I'm not 100% sure.
I don't even know what Uranus looks like.
Well,
I know,
just
but don't
like I
share
said
it.
later,
Your anus
yeah,
looks
we'll
like
make
that.
love with our
Don't
hearts
share.
later. Don't worry, it's totally good.
I will say
But I feel like that part was fine. It's just that there's no part of this movie, once you get to the third act, there's no part of it that works completely. It's like everything almost works,
Right.
but does
It
not.
almost. Like Kirk's line, why does God need a starship? That's a great moment.
it's a great line.
Yeah.
But what comes after that just falls
I mean,
apart.
like if you think of the great lines that William Shatner utters in wearing the Star Trek uniform, right? Like, Scotty, beam me up, Khan, and why does God need a starship? I mean, I'm saying like it's in the pantheon of.
Doesn't he famously never say, Scotty, beam me up?
He doesn't
like,
say.
Isn't that...
He says, "Yeah, beam me up, Scotty," is the phrase that people think he says.
Gotcha.
But you're right. It's either Enterprise, beam me up or whatever. He's never anyway. But exactly, the misnomer of Scotty, beam me up, Khan, and why does God need a starship? Like this is, in the Mount Rushmore of one-liners that William Shatner gets to say in this show, and so like you're right. That moment is great. It's a really really great moment because it's very Captain Kirk to say that kind of thing. But back to the point about the barrier and Jesse's belief that it's, more mythical or whatever. They've said in the movie, every probe that goes in there, every ship that goes in, never comes back. So
Why?
right, like did they go?
Because the god
Wouldn't
being
that
at
guy
the
have
middle.
stolen one of those ships?
Right, like
No,
if
he just broke them.
like is that the problem? Is like they went in with probes, and that's why he needs a starship and not a probe because those things all crashed or whatever. Like I don't
He's
know.
like, you expect me to drive out of here in a Ford? Get out of my face.
Yeah, I need a Cadillac. You know, I got my posse to take with me. I don't know. It's just you're not wrong. It seemed, and again, this movie, because I think Cameron, you mentioned the point. Like it's only an hour and 47, but God, it feels like 2.5. So I don't really want this movie to be longer, but
I wouldn't mind it being longer if it was good.
But yeah, it does feel like there are
being
no
set up or getting paid off.
But I mean, to cross the barrier, Kirk just goes, okay, well, let's just go for it. You know.
I mean, that's the beginning of like all this great tension that they've been building, just diffusing, and that's the thing. There's no rising, falling action. Like,
and then he says the one line that Kirk would never say. All right, well, let's go by the book. What?
No, he would say that because that's an amazing callback to, was it either one motion picture or Wrath of Khan, where he's reminded to go by the book.
He goes by the book, but he breaks the rule. He still goes against the thing. No uncoded messages when you're being mocked. And he's like, "You lied. I exaggerated." Like you get to have that whole interplay.
Well, the uncoded messages was by the book. Like, I mean, it felt like something he would say because it was a callback to an earlier entry in the movie. And I loved all the callbacks in the beginning to the previous trilogy that we just watched, 2, 3, and 4, right? Like, at least they're like paying attention to the continuity. Yeah, that was some good stuff I liked.
All right, here's one thing I do want to bring up because we haven't yet. In most spacefaring movies and shows, the vehicle is a character, right? Serenity is a character in the movie and the show, right?
The Orville.
Just like the Orville, the ship is a character, as is the Millennium Falcon.
As is Star Trek and the Enterprise.
The Enterprise is a character, and I hate that it's a punchline in this movie. So much so that not only does the ship break, and I understand that, I guess the ship breaking is what causes some stakes, right? Because like, I can only beam 2 of you out because of the thing, and then the Klingons show up and break the. So, but like, I guess my biggest issue is one is it's a punchline to the point that even like the recorder that he's doing his captain's log breaks.
Why would that be broken?
Why would that?
They're at Earth. Just get new supplies. Like that's not part of the ship.
I know that's so dumb. But again,
it's the buttons are popping off like a freaking like rejected R2 unit. What is happening?
It's so dumb. But like, I guess I don't know. Just that has always annoyed me. Like, would the Federation really build a ship so badly and put on it its flagship crew, the crew that you just saved our planet from annihilation. Now here's this piece of shit.
Well, I think that it's supposed to be representative of like the old dog that you rely on, even though they're falling apart, like Shatner clearly is. And, it's like their last legs, and it's supposed to be like, it's probably an attempt to give the movie to the only point any of us have made. It's probably an attempt to give this movie some stakes, right? Like, well, it's not like the capital E Enterprise. It's like the Enterprise at like 40% on a Thursday. Like it's not great.
Yeah.
But
next
it's
Tuesday, right?
Tuesday.
Yeah. But it's like, it is an old ship, and Kirk is an old captain.
It's not an old ship. It's a brand new ship.
The brakes there. It's brand new.
Yeah.
It's brand new because the last one just got blown up 2 movies ago, right?
Yeah.
So I have some questions about this. One, if they're going to build a brand new ship from scratch, we saw the last one. It got obliterated. They're not reusing pieces from it. Would it still be the 1701A? Would this not have been a great opportunity to make it the B? We've already established, because TNG's been out for a couple of years, that there's a ascending letter assignment to these ships. Why is it the A still?
Well, because at this point they didn't have an A. Then it would have gone from,
Oh, did it not have the A before?
No, the first one didn't have an A. That's why the camera in the fourth movie pans NCC 1701 and then stops on the A for a full second.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's happening here, Cameron, is that you're referring to the Constitution refit, which is how the A looks, but also how the 1701 looks in the movie. It looks upgraded from the show TOS, but they didn't add the A, to Sean's point,
Yeah.
until
Right,
recently.
because it was
So
still the same ship. They were just upgrading it.
Correct.
right. So, but my point being, like, the Enterprise, like as an institution, is an old ship
Okay,
in the
sure.
way that Kirk is an old captain. Like,
Okay, I
my
got you.
guess is that it has to be some kind of, it has to be some attempt to show that, like, bureaucracy will use a half-assed thing to try
Jesse,
and fix a problem.
you're reading too
right?
much into it. You had already nailed it. The only reason they do it, and I feel like they do this isn't the only time that they've sent out the Enterprise when it's not ready, it's to add stakes. It's because if it's up to its full capacity, then they don't need to use the shuttle for crazy shuttle antics. They don't need things become too easy. It has to be falling apart to cause problems. So 100% there.
It's the same reason that Scott says, I know this ship like the back of my hand, and then like full on slapstick walks into an overhead beam.
It's a
not one of the best jokes. Yeah. But just while we're talking about it, one of my memories of watching this as a child, even as a child, I remember the line when Kirk sits in his chair and goes, I miss my old chair. Like, it hit me hard for some reason. I remember as a kid being a little confused at first because I don't think I quite followed the continuity that this was a brand new ship. I was like, why did they change his chair? But I remember when I realized it, and I don't know like if a parent told me or if I just rewatched him again, I was like, that hit me more that this was a new ship than even watching it explode in 3. Like, oh shit, the captain's chair is different. Like, this is a new era. Like, the ship we've known for decades is gone.
It's funny. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Andrew. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say real quick, I didn't even notice that the ship was different because I had forgotten from before that there is a new ship, or for 3, until Spock's talking about the brig. And I was like, why would they have a new brig? And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. New chair, new brig. This is a new ship. It's a different ship.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe to Jesse's point, I'll give Jesse a little bit of whatever. Let's just say, for an example, maybe this was a piece of shit ship. Maybe this was a Constellation class. Excuse me.
Constitution, right?
It's Constitution.
Oh, it is Constitution. Okay, thank you. For some reason, that said that, and that said, wait a minute, why would they care about a Constitution? But yeah, okay. Maybe they already had that, right? Maybe that ship had also already been in service for 20 years, and they were about to retire it, and they go, oh, Kirk just blew up his Enterprise. Well, we just got this one over here. Let's slap some paint on it and call it the A, and there you go. I mean, like, I know I'm adding backstory to a movie that has none, essentially, but
no, I mean, this is the kind of thing that Star Trek writers do in the future, though, right? They go, so here's a thing to explain that. What happened was this. So it's not completely outside the realm of possibility. I think I have one more line that I have to talk about, and then I have one question for you guys. So it was weird to me that there's a line where Kirk says, I fear nothing. Like, that seems like something a scaredy cat would say to me. But do you guys think God actually lives on Shakira? I mean, that's pretty, like, that seems somewhat likely, right?
If I was God, I would.
That's there or beyond Sigonia, I would think.
Yeah.
That's right.
Or J. Lowville. I couldn't think of anything better than what you said.
It's okay.
Yes, thank you.
Lady Gaga 4.
Ooh.
No, stop. No, cut that.
No.
Okay, so I teased
one more note just on the ship itself.
I thought you were going to give it one more shot
for
for that joke.
Refit or not. But did you guys notice that in the 23rd century, apparently it requires 2 dudes to carry a heavy set of stairs to the shuttle every time it lands?
Yeah, thought that was weird.
So that's actually just one of the benefits of socialism. Everybody has a job in the Star Trek future.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
I noticed that this time while watching it. I thought, really, we couldn't. Oh, okay, because they don't have the budget to have stairs come out of the bottom of
I had
the
to rewind
shuttlecraft.
it and show my wife. I was like, just remember, this is the 23rd century.
Yeah,
They have a shuttle that just flew from Earth to this flying spaceship.
Yes, but some guys have to come out with some stairs, some heavy ass stairs. Apparently, they had enough skeleton crew to have those guys have a job, right?
Right. Yeah. They were.
They're not certified to go to space. They carry stairs for a living, Sean. Like, no, those guys cannot go to space.
Yeah.
It's like the baggage handlers at the airport.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
You can work near the plane. That's fine.
Yeah.
Don't get on it.
Well, they're still on the Enterprise. They're still doing something. Do you think after the shuttle crash, they're like, should we go out there? Like, what do? We stay
We're
here?
not crew.
Like we're
Not a
just
problem.
we're
They
just
bring the stairs.
like, should we take the stairs? What do we do?
Do they just bring the stairs back out? You know,
Oh,
McCoy
God.
would just like rip into whatever race those stair guys are, right? Like,
You know that was in the 20-minute longer Shatner cut.
Yeah. These guys just walk out. Oh no, you don't. We're good. Okay, we're
It's
gonna
20
go
more
back.
minutes of stare antics.
Yeah.
oh man. So I do, as the over specific pedantic Trekkie from Open Pike Night, I feel like I should probably bring this up. Anyone who has seen all of the original series or any important amount of Strange New Worlds will note that Kirk is actually throwing a ton of shade at his brother Sam at the end of this movie, where he goes, "Yeah, I had a brother once and he died, but he came back." And it's like, oh, you're talking about Spock,
Oh, I
not your
can't even
actual
think.
brother. Like, that's pretty,
Oh,
yeah.
Mm.
Like,
oh,
you just threw
harsh.
shade at your brother, like, to Spock's face, and he served with your brother. So that's incredibly rude, but okay.
Wow. I didn't even think of that. I'm a bad Strange New Worlds watcher.
Mm.
Can I ask some plot hole questions?
Yeah.
Okay. How did Cybot get to a planet with no starships wanting a starship? Like, shouldn't he had a starship that he got to that planet with?
Well, his home planet was destroyed, and his parents put him in a little
Mm-hmm.
thing,
An
and
egg?
sent him off,
Mhm.
an egg type
Yeah,
thing. Yeah,
okay. Mhm.
sent him off,
And he
No,
flew
that's-
past the Phantom
No,
Zone.
that's the
And-
09 timeline.
and
That's not this
he
timeline.
ended up actually being raised by Von
Farmers.
Pa Kent,
Yeah.
farmer. Yeah,
Farmers.
Oh, okay. So that makes a lot better sense, because at the end, when the god alien says Martha, and Cybok just
exactly.
like
Loses
goes
it.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah,
did you say
okay,
that
yeah.
name?
That makes so much better
Okay.
sense now.
Whew.
Thank you for explaining that, Andrew.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, so
Um,
however he got there, I mean, I feel like Cybok should be able to get a starship pretty easy, but
Well,
and
maybe. Well,
I think, okay, not to be just continuously doing this, but I hope that we find that out in Strange New Worlds, right? Because, spoiler alert, we know Cybok is going to be in
yeah.
season 2 of Strange New Worlds. So I'm hoping that we figure out some way that he ends up there without having a ship. My guess would be that he pissed somebody off and they were like, okay, you know what? I'm going to maroon you here. It was probably a Starfleet captain. I mean, knowing what we know about Starfleet captains and marooning people, it's probably they were like, you know what? Let's just put you here. It's a peace planet. It'll be great. You love peace. You're a hippie.
Okay, maybe. To that point, though, that's not what Cybok suggests in the movie. He says he came here specifically for a reason, because it had these 3 people, a Romulan, a Klingon, and a human from the Federation. He needed those 3. Why? He only needed 1 starship.
Well,
only-
because I mean, he's increasing his chances of starship access.
No, he's not,
right?
because now the starships that are going to come are going to fight, which is almost what happens.
Well, like the funny part is like, imagine his plan. He does this thing, right? And then imagine the Romulans show up. They just would kill them.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, hey, let me show you. Let me release your pain. No, phaser. You know, like
Where are the Romulans? They're in the neutral zone. We know that like the neutral zone is just basically next door to Romulus.
yeah.
Yeah. Sean, it would be a disruptor, first of all.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
But yeah, I mean, it wouldn't make sense to have 2 cloaking ship races show up at the same time. Like, that just gets complicated,
And we-
right?
and
It's
we
like why
also
you don't have
haven't-
Wolverine and Gambit in the same movie. It's like the same character.
We also hadn't seen Romulans in the movies yet either. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
we don't know
Hot
what
Romulan.
their ships look like. And so
From
maybe
TNG we do.
we do from TNG, but we don't in the movies, and they're kind of separate-ish. I know that they're not, but they kind of are because like
Pepperoni.
because the 6th movie, like the 6th movie comes out and says, "Oh, hey, by the way, the Klingons we're all friends now," and so it's like TNG goes, "Oh shit, we have to change some stuff," you know. So or am I misremembering?
No, TNG said Klingons were all friends, so the 6th movie came along and
Okay.
introduced the Accords. The 6th movie did retcon a lot of stuff TNG tried to set up. It's fuzzy enough that you could be like, oh, right, maybe they were talking about different things, but
And again, I watched the movies 100 times before I watched one episode of TNG,
Sure.
and so that's just the way it goes for me. Any other plot holes before we move on to the question that I
the other
teased
part of
an
that
hour
answer,
ago?
Cameron, could just be that remember, this was all given to him in a vision, so maybe a part of his
Sure.
vision was completely incomplete.
Well, I mean, do we kind of want to see if we all followed the plot the same way? Because I feel like there might be room for interpretation. It seems like so Cybok has been fascinated with the Great Barrier for a long time. Also, seemingly separate from that, he developed these powers. Now, he says they're not powers, but he can manifest your deepest, most shameful secrets into a mass hallucination that fills the room. But
That other
David
people
Lang.
can see. Other people can see it.
exactly. That seems like a power. But okay, Cybok, whatever. But yeah, it never explains where that came from, because it implies at the end that that wasn't from the god being.
Okay, let me just push my glasses up my nose here, but
Yeah.
like, is that more of a power than a mind meld? Like, you
I'm
know
just
what I
saying,
mean?
Spock was surprised by it. Spock called it a power.
Well, right, but I mean, this is a Vulcan who we have just been told accessed an entire part of his, being and knowledge that other Vulcans don't, and we know
Okay.
other Vulcans to be freakishly strong and Spock, even as a half Vulcan, has some telepathic stuff and a mind meld. So it's like, is it really that? I mean, as far as the things in this movie that are like, what? To me, that's a low level one.
Well, I just always assumed it came from the god being, but it doesn't seem that way. But so maybe while he was like poking around the Great Barrier in his not starship, maybe he got the vision from the god being because he was close to the barrier. Like, how did the god being like be able to manipulate his mind? I don't. That's never explained. So
I never picked up ever in the many times I've seen this that the actual God sent Cybok and anything. I think
okay.
he was meditating, he had some shrooms, he saw something, like whatever.
I disagree, because it makes a big point about him wanting a starship. Multiple times he says that's what he's there for. And then as soon as he gets to the planet, what does the god ask for?
Oh yeah, how did you get here? Oh, we came here on a starship. Oh, cool. Let me merge with it. I mean,
Yeah,
you're
so
not wrong.
I got the impression the god was like, Cybok, bring me a starship. Because that's the only way he's getting out of there.
Yeah, and I see your point. I just, like I said, however many times I've seen this,
Sure.
I never picked up on it. I always just thought that Cybok is he's driven by this idea, and that he had this idea on his own, because he kind of feels like a dude that does things on his own, like his own way, his own whatever. He's an alpha, whatever. Like, he's not getting a vision from an actual. It always to me just kind of felt like this
He's
was
David Koresh.
yeah,
I
or
think
Joel Osteen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so.
Like,
I get it more of like, it is okay. So I think that this movie goes to such great lengths to illustrate that Cybok is just really nice. Like, he's a good dude, right? Like, you'd want to hang out with Cybok constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's a great guy all
he's
the time.
always laughing.
And he's very understanding. Like, I love the scene when Chekhov threatens him. Like, and I don't know about this actor. Like, did he know they wanted him to be Sean Connery? Because he's great. Like, the guy does a great job in this role, honestly.
Yeah.
He does.
And that's not to say the role is perfectly written all the way through the movie, but he does a great job with the role. But like, I feel like part of that is because it's just meant to show like, hey, really nice, genuine, intelligent people that care about stuff can be manipulated if they're willing to, give up critical reasoning for whatever reason it is, right? So here's this great guy that really wants to help people, and he's so dedicated to that he's willing to go, oh, a magic message from the sky. I think it's astral projection, to answer your question, Cameron. I mean, because it kind of has to be. But like, to go, oh, this magic message from the sky is going to fix all these people's problem, even if they don't know it or want it, is like, again, that's it feels like a very direct, like, religion bad, right? But it's probably more like organized religion bad or something. But I think that it is an attempt to show that Cybok, even though he has great wisdom and, self knowledge, he's still susceptible because he is willing to take the leap of faith, right? So they show you back to back. The leap of faith can be great. It can get you through the galactic barrier, which isn't even really a barrier. It's just a thing. And a leap of faith can be bad because it can make you go, oh, I've just brought a bunch of people into the death planet of Beard Guy. Like,
so that's the most fantastical part of this movie, right? that a zealot true believer can instantly change his mind when presented with the truth, right? Because the last few years have shown us that that doesn't happen.
Right, but I think the character is written to do that. I think Cybok is written to do that, but I agree with you, Cameron.
I also have, and it wasn't until the viewing with my son where I actually felt bad for Cybok and how he dies, because yeah, I guess he sort of sacrifices himself, but again, Kirk kills him.
Well,
Yeah,
does he die?
sort of.
We see him enter a god being and wrestle with himself, and then there's an explosion. Like, yeah, I think we can see a Cybok god being fusion later on in a future
I hope
series.
so.
Maybe
I
the
hope so.
next, the Final Frontier spinoff that Shatner's going to direct. Now with his existential like fear of the void.
Yeah. They go back to check on that planet to make sure that the god thing is dead, and nope, there's Cybok. It always bothered me that he died because, as a distraction. He was a distraction. It's not like he sacrificed himself to actually stop the thing or whatever. I don't know. He throws himself in front of the laser eyes and gets
Well,
killed
and
or something.
it's all so quick. I mean, that's where like we're missing the third act. Like at this point, he should have been confronted with the knowledge that he was wrong all along. We needed more time with him and the crew at that point, and him to like come to terms with that, and him and his Spock to kind of deal with shit, and for him to realize that like, you know what, it's because I erased all this trauma from my life and regret. Like I didn't learn anything. That's why I fell into this con.
Yeah.
And then it could have brought in some of the themes and stuff. Yeah.
It would have been interesting for him because he does make that turn pretty quickly. His 180 is fast.
Yeah.
And then he goes,
Oh, yeah.
He looks at him and goes, "Why don't you tell me about your pain or show me your pain?" He goes, "My what?" Let's have a moment there.
I feel like it's consistent, right? Like he's been showing us this whole movie that his number one tool to solve problems is radical empathy, right? Like help me understand what's hurting you.
Yeah.
And so for him to reach out to like a cosmic level consciousness and say, share your pain with me, I think that alone may destroy him as a being, right? Like
Yeah,
on an
possibly,
almost
but
cosmic horror level. Now to like, was any of that in this movie? Maybe not. But like,
well, yeah, and it might be
did I get that out of
consistent,
it? Maybe.
but it's not dramatically interesting or narratively.
I think it would have been.
Fair.
I think it would have
Totally
been neat. Again, hindsight is whatever, but it would have been neat for him to say, "Show me your pain," and then we have a 5-minute little whatever.
Yeah.
Where like he's like mesmerized by it, and the god's like looking around, and then we get the backstory of why he's there.
Of why he's locked up
and like that's his pain, is that he was abandoned by his floaty head god parents because he killed a bunch of whatever. And so
it does seem interesting that like the center of the galaxy is this prison for this one being, but also that Vulcan myth put this like paradise at the center of the universe. I wonder if there is a connection there, if like the story kind of morphed over the years in Vulcan society.
Well, I think
and that could have been interesting to explore, I thought.
I think paradise at the center of the universe is a common religious tenet.
Sure, but it's also a weird place to stick your solitary confinement.
Don't tell me where to stick my deities, Cameron. I'll stick them wherever I want them.
Up Uranus.
So
apparently.
I tried teasing this a couple minutes ago, and I'm going to bring it back. I teased this earlier in the episode. Is this the worst Trek movie in the 13 movies that we have available to us? Is this the worst one? Because most would argue that this is. There's even a Big Bang Theory episode where they argue, Sheldon argues that one is the worst one, and Kuthrapali argues that this is the worst one, and that even Sheldon makes the point. Again, this episode was written by someone that's not a Trekkie, because he even says, special effects, and then he says score is bad. I'm like, it's written by the same guy, so you can't say that the score is bad.
Well,
also it has the Klingon music in it, so invalid.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess
they're both incorrect. But yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm asking. So this is the question I ask of you. I guess I'll point to you, Cameron, and say, which one to you is the worst Trek film? Which of the 13, if you rank them, 1 to 13, which is 13?
Sure. I haven't seen the Next Generation ones in a long time, and I didn't really understand much of them because I hadn't seen the show at that point. So I'm going to leave those ones out.
Okay.
I'm going to say that it is, from an objective film student analyzing the structure of story and filmmaking, it's the worst one. Now, if you presented me with the motion picture and this one, which one am I more likely to choose to watch? It might be this one. It's more fun, and they both have problems with their endings. So,
Yeah.
I would say this is the worst one, but it's not my least favorite.
Okay. That's a good way to put it. What say you, Jesse?
I say once Cameron watches Nemesis again, he's gonna be like, "Can we please watch The Final Frontier?"
Can you
on a loop
re-edit my answer?
at any point? I think Nemesis is the worst one, just because it's like it's so clearly is for a lot of the reasons that this one and Generations are not great, right? Where it's like, oh, you're gonna do a swan song, you're gonna do like the love letter to this crew, their final adventure, like a great last send off, except, oh, look at what why are you doing? Please stop doing it this way. Why would you choose this way? And it goes downhill. Now, I am firmly of the belief, I think, as I stated at the top, I think every Trek movie is worth doing and therefore worth watching. Like, if especially if you're a Trek fan. If you're not a Trekkie, then ask your Trekkie friends which ones you should watch, and they'll probably steer you correctly. But I personally think Nemesis is the worst movie for very similar reasons that this movie is not good. But I almost feel like, I don't know. I feel like any movie before a certain year just gets an amount of slack, right? Like, because of how freaking difficult it is to get a movie made in the first place. But like, to use the tools available at the time, and I'm speaking, from my perspective, I'm not saying objectively you should leave movies from the 80s alone or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, you need to take into account when the movies came out and, judge them that way. And for that reason, I feel like Nemesis is a little bit more unforgivable, because it's like, you should have learned all these lessons by now. You've had a long time to learn these lessons. What are you doing? But it also has a nearly unrecognizable Tom Hardy playing a clone of Picard. So that's like, there's value there. Like, there's even something in Nemesis to enjoy. So I think Nemesis is the worst movie. I don't think this one is the worst one, maybe by a long shot. But I also don't think it's great. I think most of the Trek movies are all right. Some of them are great Trek movies, and some of them are great movies. But I think on average, they're like pretty good. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, the Trek filmography taken as a whole is legendary. Like, pieces of it are, yeah. But I don't think, like, if somebody said you can never watch Star Trek 5 again, I'd be like, yeah, all right. Like, I remember enough of it. Like, I'm not going to miss that much, of that. But I'm glad that that didn't happen. I'm glad that I have access to Star Trek 5.
Andrew, I know you don't really have much of a strong opinion one way or the other on this. Would you have, if you remember enough, or I'm just curious?
I mean, I'm gonna say this one just because, at least in the first one, I cared a little bit more about the characters, because I feel like I was meeting them for the first time.
Yeah.
Coming into the films, at least. This one, it was just a little too cartoony for me, and not good.
It does also suffer from, like, if you don't know these characters really well, this movie isn't gonna, you're not gonna care at all about this movie. Like,
and that could be part of it as well. I don't really care about the ones that I care about are the three that we see in, for the majority.
And that relationship's done really well.
Right.
Yeah. But it's like, if you didn't spend 5 years with this crew watching all their adventures, and then you didn't spend a bunch of years watching all their movies and being like, what happens next? Like that, it's like, this is literally an old throuple working out their issues, together. And it's, for some of us, like, hell yeah. But I could see where other people would be like, no, thank you.
So
How about you, Sean?
to answer my question, first of all, I am going to push back a little bit. I don't want to get into an argument because that's not what this particular episode is going to be about. But I do like Nemesis. I don't think it's bad. And maybe there's some nostalgia with it because it was the first time I forced my then girlfriend, now wife, to watch Trek. She went and actually saw it with me in the theater, and that was the first movie I saw in the theater was Generations, and that was my dad took me to that. And I've gone on your show. Maybe not. I don't know. I guess I haven't been on Open Pike, but maybe I haven't said that. For Generations, to me, was a movie where my dad was like, "Hey, son, come with me to the theater, just you and I as men, and we're going to go watch Trek." And so that movie, though not great, has a fun place in my heart as a memory with my dad. To me, Insurrection is the worst one because I don't like really anything about it. It's not fun. It's kind of annoying. I don't. Again, there's more. There's another time element in that movie, but Star Trek loves its time element. I don't know. It's just it's
There's
not
no
a
time element in that movie.
yeah. They go there and time goes backwards. They start to de-age. We have Worf getting zits. I mean, it's
their DNA regenerates, but I like let's not get into it.
Right, but it's basically them going backwards in time.
I mean, you're going to argue that, and I'm still going to say it's not, but okay.
That's fine. So their rings have regenerative properties. That was really hard to say. Anyway, it's a bad movie. I don't like Insurrection. I would rather watch 1 and 5 twice before watching Insurrection. And I like Nemesis. I think Nemesis is okay. It's not great. It's fine. I don't think it's as bad as Jesse's making out to be. But again, Jesse has his opinion, and that is okay. All right. Time for clips. Anything else we want to say before I play some clips?
I've got a couple quick things, maybe not so quick. I don't know. But okay, so real quick. So they land on the planet and they walk away, and everyone on the ship watches them walk away towards these mountains. Where in the F is that camera?
Yeah.
Where is that
camera?
That it seems they seem to be watching their interaction with God later too. What?
Yeah, when Kirk
Did they
gets
set up
zapped,
a little tripod before they walked away?
The camera and the badge.
Yeah, when Kirk gets zapped.
No, but there's no badge over this. Not even like they could have cheated it so it looked like it had been part of the shuttle. I would have bought that they had a camera on the shuttle.
Yeah.
It wasn't even that. The shuttle was in frame.
Some of the triangles on Cybok's shirt were transmitters.
That's my thing. That's my thing, Sean. My whatever you called your thing earlier.
Problem with diegetic storytelling.
Do we want to talk about the fan dance?
Please?
Are we fans of the fan dance?
I was hypnotized.
I just want to say that was one thing that I thought.
Nice.
Sorry, it took me a minute to catch what you just said.
Yeah.
That took me out of the movie. Like, I know they need a distraction, but okay, she's at the age in this movie that don't put your clothes back on. Like,
but these are dudes that are on a desert planet. I mean, like, the most attractive female they've probably seen is the cat lady.
True, but here's an instance where we need a red shirt that is a throwaway character that she's just interning, like she's just the coffee girl on the ship, and
we had that character on the ship like that. She was very clearly an intern. She had half a skirt.
I'll push back because one, I've always enjoyed it because I'm a red-blooded male. But even as a teenager, I recognized I just love when these other characters get a chance to do something. Gets a chance to do something this movie, and that's not every movie. They don't always give Sulu, Chekhov, or Uhura something to do. So I like that she gets that. And I mean, this is coming from a white male, so take it as you will. But it seems to have a middle-aged black woman be a sex symbol in that way was empowering especially for 89. Even for today, we don't see that a lot. And I feel there's value there. I don't know.
True. I mean, she did have great legs.
She had great legs. I don't know where those feathers came from.
Yeah, did they bring that with them? Like, did they replicate them?
Also, was that her singing? And was there like a vocal effect? Did they bring a karaoke machine down in the shuttle?
Yeah. Obviously.
Amplifier in the badge.
Oh, the badge.
That don't exist in this world.
Oh, wait, was she? But was she was naked though, right? Like she just was using the fan to cover herself.
I mean, the people were asking, "What is she naked?"
The
the
Okay.
line.
Okay.
the
Let's
question.
just talk about the ADR in general in this movie.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
bad.
The crowd running up, woman.
Yeah.
Like, are they
It's like a
also
middle school locker room.
yeah, like are they also Neanderthals or something? Like what is going on? And that's a little speciest, by the way. But like that, and why in the 2-minute scene where everyone is riding unicorns, why did they add ADR of Kirk going, try to be one with the horse, Spock?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying. Well, I mean, this is a
what is
Shatner
that-
movie. You know that he's gonna have to ride a horse at some point. So yeah.
Sure,
Poor
but what's the
unicorn.
line for?
It's
Like, what is Spock knows how to ride a damn horse, dude? Like, what are you trying to?
Clearly, he
What are
doesn't.
you
Pike.
doing?
He's been on
Yeah.
a horse.
Like, seriously,
He's been
like,
on-
what are
he-
you trying to do?
he's
This
on his
guy knows
high
how to
horse.
ride a horse.
He's on his high horse a lot of times, but I just want to go and film the conversation with Kirk saying, "We need a distraction." Hey, Uhura, go get those fans and get naked.
Right?
Like,
Okay,
is
so-
that an order? Like,
Right? That is a very problematic situation that
yeah,
they
this is
clearly cut
workplace
around.
harassment.
She does just kind of appear there.
Yeah.
Right.
It is
I
a great
think-
shot. Her
Or maybe
silhouetted
she
against
was like,
that
"Hey, I've
moon.
been practicing this thing for Scotty. I'll do it for these guys."
I think
Yeah,
what
yeah.
clearly happened is that Sulu was like, I could do my fan dance. And she was like, actually, let me do the fan dance.
Yeah,
And then the whole time she was doing it, he was like, oh, she's totally stole that from me.
Right.
Like, I think that's probably how that went.
You-
I
Nailed it.
mean,
okay, okay.
no
Canon.
disrespect to George Takei. I think that man is a treasure, and I was delighted. Again, I'm going to call out Lower Decks when
yeah,
Boimler goes, "Oh my gosh, Captain Kirk," and he goes, "Captain Sulu," and he goes, "Even better."
yeah.
It's like, I feel that way. And to Cameron's point, though, I don't know that they gave Uhura something to do in this movie. Like, she did that, and then she went, "Hey man, Cybok's a nice guy."
It was.
Chill
Well,
out."
she
it was
was
better
really
than what they gave
flirty with-
Chekhov to do.
she,
Like at least you
Right.
got that awesome silhouette shot.
Yeah,
Well,
she's
and
pretty
Chekhov
flirty
was-
with Scotty.
right, yeah.
I mean, actually, of all the characters that have nothing to do, I think Sulu has the least. He has like
He gets to
one
fly the
line.
shuttle and
Well,
knock
he-
off the.
And
He flew
he
the shuttle. He followed the Klingon around with Chekhov, and he got lost with Chekhov.
Yeah, like that's kind
Did
of
he
it.
and Chekhov tag like double team that that Klingon because we know there's
oh yeah, they
Two.
So if you saw them like lusting after her, as soon as they saw the dude Klingon, they both immediately
both just
I
like,
turned
did
away.
see that.
Yeah,
altered course.
like
I did.
in unison too, which was great.
so
And it was
getting
like you could almost see on George Takei's face, like you could almost see him winking at Walter Koenig the whole time they were doing that. Like,
Getting into
All
the
right.
trivia on this one just a little bit to answer your question, the Shatner directed movie,
Mhm.
Shatner and Takei
Mhm.
did not get along at all, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
And so that's why he doesn't have a whole lot to do in this movie.
I mean, he has
And
like
matter
two
of fact,
lines total.
He gets lost.
Matter of fact, the trivia even said that he almost didn't reprise his role, and Shatner had to convince him to do it.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Well, there's also, I mean, again, that animosity, seeped into the sixth movie, so that Sulu was like, "Okay, I'll come back, but I'm not going to be on set." You know what I'm saying? Like he's on a
Can I
different
get a
ship.
promotion?
Yeah,
give me
I'm,
my own ship. I don't want to even be in the same scenes as you.
yeah,
I don't want to be in the same plot as you. But yeah, I'll be in your movie. Sure.
yeah. I'll be in the movie. I mean, like at the very end of the movie is when he's finally on the same set with him.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, none of their scenes are filmed together. I mean, I know that Excelsior is just a revamped version of the Enterprise, but like, yeah. Anyway, that's a well-known whatever.
The only other thing I want to bring up, Sean, which I can't believe we have not. I mean, we just have to address right now the super dark existential twist of the movie. I don't know why we haven't brought it up yet.
Okay, and that's
At the very end, they're all singing "Life is but a dream," and then it pans out, revealing that they are but characters living inside a matte painting.
oh
It
Like
is, in
how?
fact, a dream.
Oh my God! Like, does that mean all of Star Trek has just been a dream of these characters in this very mundane landscape painting?
yes,
To Bob
That's
Ross.
whew,
the
that's
Bob
like some
Ross painting.
Lynchian level stuff there, guys. I mean, I don't know if Shatner's getting enough credit here.
It's a great segue into Shatner's existential dread that he experienced in actual space.
That's right.
Wow.
I know that wasn't the intention, but when it pulled back in HD, it is very clearly a painting. Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of what it felt like. It had that St. Elsewhere feel to it. Like, wait a second. We're right back where we started the movie, did everything we just see. Because my head's spinning. I'm like, where are these themes? What did this movie want me to take away? I don't know.
And the movie's like, us neither.
Yeah, we don't know.
Life's a dream. I don't know. That sounds deep.
Now, I will say, like, as a Trekkie, I was like, oh, yes, a matte painting. I love it.
Yeah.
That's true.
But
That's true.
I understand that it's not necessarily like a selling point for most people.
All right.
All right. Time for clips. Here we go. I got a few. I'm very excited for these. Here we go. Shatner saying things.
I'm doing this because I enjoy it. Not to mention the most important reason for climbing a mountain.
And that is?
Because it's there.
Captain, I do not think you realize the gravity of your situation.
There you go. Gotta have a little joke there with gravity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this movie does something. Well, it does many things that none of the other ones do. But this is the first time we get somebody other than Captain Kirk giving a report, a log. We get a voiceover of Scotty. This movie, for lack of Sulu and Chekhov, has a lot of Scotty, which I'm here for. Jesse's making funny faces, but it's got, I think, comparatively speaking to the other characters, there's a lot of Scotty, right?
I feel Scotty's always like the fourth biggest. He's the fourth most screen time.
It's a good thing Scotty
After the
doesn't
trio.
know.
Oh.
True. He doesn't. Anyway, this line made me laugh.
USS Enterprise, shakedown cruise report. I think this new ship was put together by monkeys. Oh, she's got a fine engine, but half the doors won't open. And guess whose job it is to make it right? Bonus frat. Let's see what she's got, said the captain. And then we found out, didn't we?
I love that he's just so grumpy and bitchy. That made me laugh. Like, when I went back to pull these clips, it made me laugh. This was put together by monkeys. It just cracks me up that he's just bitching the whole time. Like, I hope some Starfleet bureaucrat is having to listen to this thing, listen to Scotty bitch about how bad the ship is.
So did we get a ASR rant? I mean, an Angry Scotsman rant?
Oh yeah, you're right. That is an Angry Scotsman. Wow, that's a callback for you.
Yeah.
Well, actually, if you break Scotsman into two words there, you could get ASMR.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you guys, but I would listen to James doing some ASMR as Scotty.
So
it's so interesting too because James Doohan is Spanish.
Can we put that on one of our shows though?
He grew up next door to Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Yeah.
Can we have it? Now that's a deep cut.
Oh, I love it. Oh,
we
Sam, that was just for you.
Can we do like a like Scotty ASMR series on one of our shows? Like, now I'm opening the soap opera. Like, I think that might have an audience somewhere.
I mean, that and Sulu, honestly. Sulu too.
Oh yeah.
I love that man. You guys have got to watch his episodes of Adventure Time. He plays a mutant evil heart. It's amazing.
Well, he does have one character in one episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and every time that episode comes on and we're watching it, I just start smiling, and my wife goes, I know. So, it's great. But I don't know.
Okay, Sean, I have to say this. I was watching regular TV today, like on demand, just like whatever channel was on. I wasn't, my daughter was. And she was watching a show called Bubble Guppies.
Yeah.
And there was a superhero on this episode voiced by Kate Mulgrew. And I was like, that is Kate Mulgrew. And my wife went, excuse me, are you telling me who's on this children's show?
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, but here's why. So it was far less creepy than it initially seemed.
There's a Bubble Guppies episode where they go into space in a spaceship, and one of them is a Spock archetype, and there is one of the because the whole time he's Captain. We have a thing where we must go, and they're having to. I think they have to save the music in the universe because there's a.
So that particular guppy always talks like that, which I think is really cool. But
but he has a blue shirt.
But yeah.
He's wearing a blue shirt and he has pointy ears.
And my wife immediately went, there was also a Whoopi Goldberg episode. Did you not know this? And I was like, I got to watch more Bubble Guppies, dude.
Yeah. I also love that. And one of my favorite shows, Psych, has both William Shatner and George Takei in him at different times. So, and George Takei as George Takei. And the character, the Sean Spencer character, calls him George Takei. And the guy was like, no, he prefers Takei. He goes, no. Only the guys that really know him know how to pronounce it. So you just go sit down. He was really great.
He was also very good as, I believe, himself in Party Down, one episode of Party Down.
Oh, I forgot that.
I don't even know what that is, but that's
okay. Check that out.
Sean, you got to watch Party Down.
Yeah, you do.
Here's more funny things from Scotty.
Red alert. I just fixed that damn thing.
Again, why is the MP3 file busted?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to Jesse's point, like, it's so ridiculous that Starfleet would send this ship out with a skeleton crew on such an high-stakes mission.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not high stakes, but like to beat the Klingons and Romulans there.
Yeah, we have other ships, but not an experienced crew. Well, can you give us one of those ships then? Yeah. Is the Excelsior good? Like, can we take that ship?
The Admiral's answer to him almost made it seem like they were trying to get Kirk killed.
Yeah.
He's like, you literally can't send anybody else. He's like, we could, but I feel like sending you.
Yeah. Because I know you slept with my wife.
Yeah.
Probably.
Go ahead by yourself. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Just take a shuttlecraft and then crash it
and
later.
Daughter. And sister.
Here is... we've made several jokes at its expense. This is, in fact, the Voyager 5 spacecraft or whatever being shot and screaming. Yeah, that's right. That thing screamed. It was very strange.
I'm so glad I wasn't the only one who heard it.
Oh my gosh! Every time, it's very strange to me.
I immediately pulled my headphone cup off of my very sweaty ear and was like, "Oh, was that my toddler?"
No,
that was a satellite.
That's a satellite. That was what was the one that we just what was the one that we had that just left our solar system about a year ago? Voyager.
Voyager 1, I think, is the furthest thing out.
Yeah.
Not even close to like the Oort cloud, but I think it left what was considered known space.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This line also made me laugh. Most of this stuff is just stuff that made me laugh.
Stand by to execute the emergency landing plan B.
I love the music stop.
You know who's a good actor?
Oh, hold on. Hang in. We still got 8 seconds. Hang in there.
Emergency landing plan B.
I don't have a clue.
B, as in barricade.
He can't be serious.
Again, Scotty with the line.
William Shatner. I mean, he is underrated. He is a great actor as Kirk, at least. I mean, he does a lot of stuff in these movies, and it's all really good.
My favorite. So you mentioned it earlier, and I wanted to say something, but then I couldn't. So Spock has 2 really great non-verbal communications in the movie. The first is when Kirk sits in his chair and it shakes. He goes, "I miss my chair," and Spock basically just kind of gives him almost a pouty lip look, like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for you." And then the second one is this moment when he says, emergency plan B, and Spock looks off like side-eyed and gives the eyebrow like, I have no idea what's about to happen. It's just a great look.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Leonard Nimoy is carrying more weight in his acting ability. Yeah. Like, I mean, Shatner just has to be charismatic, but like, he gets across a lot of stuff in that Kirk persona. I love this character in these movies.
Now, so this next clip is, okay, it's a little personal. So sometimes Andrew's wife or Sam's wife will send me audio clips from them. And in this case, this was Karen, Andrew's wife, his lovely wife, sent me an audio clip. Oddly enough, this is in the bedroom on their honeymoon. And she's asking Andrew a question, and this is what he said.
Stand by to execute.
Nope, that's not it. It was this.
Manually. How often have you done this?
Actually, it's my first attempt.
There you go. So that's okay, Andrew.
I don't know how they got that audio, but that's
Yeah, why? I mean,
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure why Karen was recording it and why she altered her voice, but
yeah. Speaking of, one of my students asked me the other day. He said, "What are you gonna tell your kids when they find out you're a virgin?"
Is that kid either the smartest or the dumbest in class?
I know it was kind of out of the blue too. It was very unexpected, and I just couldn't do anything but laugh.
Nice.
I shook my head and I said, "That's a good question."
But yeah, I mean, yeah, either dumb or just burn the shit out of you.
Yeah,
Like one or the other. Wow.
Here's that pratfall we mentioned.
Mr. Scott, you're amazing. There's nothing amazing about it. I know this ship like the back of my hand.
Now, I saw, for whatever, my memory of this movie, this is so funny. I remember watching this movie on WGN TV Saturday mornings so many times that when he hits his head and falls, and that's when the red alert happens, it cuts to commercial. So so the last 2 times that I watched it for this thing, my brain kept waiting for a fade to black in that moment because I was waiting for the commercial break. Because every time he smacks his head, falls, red alert, bam, 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 fade to black, and I'm waiting for a Cheerios commercial or something.
Next time on Jerry Springer.
Yeah, it was very strange. It's just my memory of that. Oh, here we go.
Excuse me.
It will carry my power to every corner of creation.
Excuse me, I'd just like to ask a question. What does God need with a starship?
And why do I have so much reverb in my voice when we're outside? But it now allowed me to keep this.
Excuse me.
I now have that forever.
Excuse me.
So when Sam starts saying something ridiculous, I'll just say,
excuse me.
There you go.
You should have just used that to interrupt Jesse multiple times during this podcast.
Yeah.
I haven't said anything that needs
excuse me.
Yet. I stand by that.
All right, this is the last one, and again, it also made me chuckle.
I thought I was going to die.
Not possible. You were never alone. Please, Captain. Not in front of the Klingons.
That's a good line.
I love it. I think it's hysterical.
And like, come on, Shatner. Like, you're really surprised that people are reading into you and Spock's relationship?
I know.
Like,
I know.
come on. That line is for that. Like, come on, dude. Like, just relax. It's hilarious and it's great. And you guys are in love. So chill.
It's okay. All right.
It's like when the director of Nightmare on Elm Street 2 didn't realize he was making like a gay subtext film, which is what the screenwriters had intended.
Yeah. Which we talked about not 3 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we talked about that at length because I didn't know that, and I'm talking like, man, this movie's got a lot of homoerotic subtext, and our guest Lindsay Washburn was like, yes, that was on purpose. Like, oh, okay, so that the
From
fact
some
that
of them,
yeah, like the fact that the gym teacher who goes to an S&M bar is killed or is attacked by having balls thrown in his face, like. The movie was not subtle at all. All right.
Balls.
Yes, balls. I'm not going to play the clip, Andrew. All right. Well, now that we're an hour and 50 minutes into this episode, I am now going to play. We're going to play the game, and this episode is now sponsored by.
Help Open Pike Night celebrate #where November has gone before. This year, from November 1st through 30th, go to openpike.com/join us and leave us a voicemail or message to be entered to win a Hallmark Keepsake Strange New Worlds Enterprise light-up ornament. 1 entry per person, and remember, openpike.com is the easiest way for you to get your voice into the ears of the people who make Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Make any bridge just a little bit brighter with Open Pike Night and your brand new tiny flagship.
And now for some more bad news. Ready?
We are still going to play the game. That's right. We're going to play the game called Hey, Did You Notice? This is a game where Andrew has come up with some questions about this movie, and he's going to ask us those questions about little things and whatever that we saw in the movie. Cameron and Jesse will be on one team, and I will be their opponent. You guys will go first in the questions. If you get it wrong, then I will have an opportunity to steal a point. First person to 5 wins, or best out of 5 wins, I should say.
If we lose, you may be witnessing the disintegration of Open Pike Night right here and now.
Yeah. Trekkies are notoriously bad at trivia.
Well, this
All
is
right,
not
so-
trivia. This has
And
nothing to
losing.
do with trivia.
Before we get into the first question, I had a question, but I'm not going to make it an actual question because I didn't think it was quite fair. But if you noticed, and I was hoping you would catch this this clip, Sean. But when he's fighting
Wait,
the cat
hold on.
alien,
Damn it. I missed it. Hold on. I missed the clip. Here it is. Hold on. Oh, shit. Hold on. The clip that I said that I wanted to capture, and I forgot. I still have it queued up. So they run in. This is where they're running in. Run the horses. I didn't cue this up very well. Hold on. It's worth the wait.
Where are they going?
I promise.
Spock, hold your horse, Captain.
There it is. Hold your
Hold
horse,
your horse.
Captain.
Oh yeah, I've
Oh.
been waiting to say that to someone all night, but I haven't had an opportunity.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Andrew, sorry.
that was
about
worth it.
I feel like in the longer version, like that Christian Bale guy from the beginning, like he had to have had a payoff, right? He was in this movie, so he was the first person we saw, and he
Yeah.
has no payoff at the end.
He has more lines than
Then Decay.
So, some of the crew, yeah.
So before we get there, though,
Christian
when
Bale,
he's
thanks.
fighting the cat alien chick in the bar there,
Yeah.
did you notice there's a famous singer's voice that is thrown into the cat sounds?
Mm.
It's a very famous singer. Do you know who it is?
No.
Aretha Kitt.
So if you go back and watch that scene, you can very clearly hear James Brown, the singer James Brown, and it's just his at the beginning of the "I Feel Good" song.
Mm.
Right? He has that kind of scream at the beginning. That's the sound that they used for the fight sound and for the cat sound.
I believe it. I
The
believe
cat,
it.
the cat with 3 boobs.
Yeah.
Because
I completely forgot that there's a live action Cation in Star Trek. I thought they were only animated series.
Now, I don't know if she is considered a Cation because Dr. Ta'ana doesn't have 3 boobs, from what I can tell. So
Maybe
I'm
it's
not. It could be. Maybe it's a subspecies. It's a northern Cation.
That's right.
it's her mom was the 3-boobed lady from Total Recall.
There we go.
Who was Ensign Sonia Gomez in TNG?
So it all comes together.
Now my
Boom.
son got when they get into the bar and they're playing pool and the table is water. He goes, "Hey, pool! I get it."
I didn't. Your son is smarter than I am.
Yep. Same.
All right, Andrew, what you got?
All right. So Jesse and Cameron, this question goes to you. If you don't know it, Sean can steal. So Shuttle 5 is named Galileo. What is the name of Shuttle 3?
Copernicus.
There you go. All right, very good. That was a kind of a softball question for you. So 1 point for you guys. Sean.
Yeah.
A commercial is playing on the television that Kirk slams the cat alien into. What is the commercial for?
It's the Odie bar. Oh no, wait, that's Serenity. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
All right.
Do you know, Jesse?
Jesse.
It's
I believe it's for Paradise City, or maybe a casino.
it's
in
like land.
the
I think
bar.
it's advertising moving to Paradise City, right?
Yes, it is for Federation Federal Home Financing for Paradise City to build.
Because they say something about being underwater when he throws the cat in the pool, and I was like, oh, that's actually kind of clever sound design.
That's impressive.
Nice.
Glad you
Good
guys
job,
caught that. All right, so Jesse, Cameron, this is you at the club where the hostages are being kept. There's a sign above the door, the entry into the club. There is one word written in English. What is it? Right above the door.
I know at the front of the city it says Paradise, and then Lost is spray painted next to
Yeah.
it, but that's 2 English words, so it's not that. I don't know. Do you have any guesses, Jesse? I can guess.
This one I don't have a guess.
Cat titties in one word.
Sean.
Enter.
Well, you're close.
Entrance.
The word is HOLE.
Hole.
All right.
Okay.
As in in the wall.
Yeah.
Or,
Yes.
or
yeah.
watering hole.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right.
And since there's only one Klingon there, the chances of it being a glory hole are really low.
All right. Sean, this is you. I don't know what I was writing here. I didn't like this. I would auto-correct it or something. So when they are climbing the turbo shaft to get to the communicator, what deck level do they start on? And I'll give you a hint. It is not level 1.
So they start on.
Yeah, Kirk and
Now, here's a
McCoy
bit of
and
trivia
Spock.
that I learned years ago, is that in the original design, deck 1 was like the top of the ship, and it went down. But they flipped it for this scene so that they could ascend up.
So you got an idea of how long they've been climbing.
Yeah. And
There's a lot of weird shots of just like people going across frame in this movie. Like that shot of them climbing was just really long. And then when they're on the planet, on the heaven planet, they're like, it's just shots of their feet walking across sand. I don't know.
to answer your question, I don't know, deck 5.
All right, Jesse or Cameron, do you have an idea?
I know when they stop, it's around like the teens. I think it was like.
I think they start on deck 3.
I'm fine with that.
They start on deck 6. The
I
very bottom.
was going
is
to
deck
guess
6,
7. So.
and they go all the way up to like 78.
Yeah, it's
wow.
It's ridiculous when they fly up. It's really high. Because my son asked me that too. He's like, how many decks are this ship? I'm like, I don't think there are as many as the numbers say.
Well, and it's a beautiful inversion. Excuse me. It's a beautiful inversion of the earlier scene where Kirk is falling and Spock chases him on the boots, right? Instead of going down together, they're going up together. It's like poetry. It rhymes.
The fizzy lifting boots.
Yeah, it's also how I like that they don't have to actually hold on to Spock for them to fly. You know, like their feet are dangling.
They're very good boots.
Like oh yeah, but Spock is so strong that he can manipulate the boosters with one hand and hold 2 other men with another one hand.
Well, I mean, they're used to this position, right? Like
they practiced it while they were camping.
All right, whose turn is it? Is it?
They call it the Vulcan double.
I mean,
Sorry.
I think
Cameron,
they've won.
You've already won, but here's the last question, just for fun. How many men were in the lookout party that they stole horses from, and how many horses were there total?
It did feel like there were way more horses than men. There's at least 3 different voices talking about, is she naked? I want to say maybe 4 or 5 are scrambling up that hill. What do you think, Jesse? 5?
I think 5 guys and 5 guys, but more than 5 horses.
Yeah, like 9 horses. I don't know.
Can we say? Can we say 5 guys and greater than 5 horses?
All right, Sean, do you have a guess?
Well, you've already said 6 was the deck, and you like to use the same numbers over again, so I'll say 6.
6 of both?
Sure.
People and horses?
Yeah,
Okay.
why not?
Wait, was it 7 of 9?
Wow.
There were 8 men
Okay.
and 10 horses, which I didn't understand.
Classic.
Because Why would we have 2 more horses than we have?
They're the breeding
Yeah.
horses.
It's a
Or
hot
unicorns,
dogs and
whatever they are.
yeah,
Buns
it's a hot
thing.
dogs and buns thing.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Okay, well,
Okay.
good job, guys.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Andrew.
Time for this.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
This is where we're gonna do top 3, and this is where I picked the category of movies with God, and by God we mean big God or little g God or false God or anything like that. So lots of interpretation, but I don't think that this is gonna come up anytime soon, this category, so I'm okay with that. And I will let Cameron go first.
Ooh. So I did just kind of go Judeo-Christian God, just kind of limit my choices. So I went Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Of course, it's a good idea.
Of course. Great depiction of God in that. I haven't seen this movie in a long time, but I remember loving it and have really been wanting to revisit Prophecy.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Viggo Mortensen and Christopher Walken. And
Yeah.
I think Viggo's the devil, right? Christopher Walken's the angel Gabriel.
I know.
Jesse, it's an amazing movie. Check it out.
Sounds amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last one was one that kind of surprised me how much I enjoyed Noah. I really liked Noah, the recent one.
Don't listen to our episode on that one then.
No, then I won't.
Yeah,
No,
it's like our bottom 4 episode.
I loved how it just felt like an 80s fantasy movie. It's like, let's take this Bible story and turn it into an 80s fantasy movie. And I loved it.
I didn't think Darren Aronofsky knew how to do fun.
I see this. I was surprised how fun it was. I think that's what kind of took me by surprise, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
What you got, Jesse?
So I have two very respectable answers, and then I have a bro answer, because you guys are my bros. So my first answer is Princess Mononoke, which is sort of about the clash of different sorts of gods, the old gods and the new gods, primarily, if you will, gods of nature versus gods of man and industry, that sort of a thing. And also the English voice cast for the dub of Princess Mononoke is pretty good. It's got Billy Crudup and Gillian Anderson is in it.
Billy Bob Thornton.
I think Claire Danes is in it. There's a lot of people in it.
I feel like that was the movie that introduced like getting big American actors to dub the Jap anime.
Probably. I mean, I was very, very young when it was like contemporary, but
sadly I wasn't that young.
And the second one that I would pick is The Road to El Dorado. We've got Miguel and Tulio, Tulio and Miguel pretending to be gods, and we find out that it is tough to do so. It's like one of the most enjoyable songs in I think that's a non-Disney movie, right? That's a DreamWorks, I think.
DreamWorks, I think.
Really, really good song. And then my bro answer is Constantine. Because that was just that was a cool movie, and I really you have fun watching that movie, and I think Keanu Reeves can make anything cool. I don't know if he can make it I don't know what the word is for it, meaningful, but cool is definitely the word I'm looking for. Like the arm tattoos and the cross-shaped shotgun. Is that dumb? Yeah. Does Keanu fit that? Yes. I like that movie. It's fun to watch.
It's also based on a comic book, so it's okay to have cross shotguns and arm tattoos and cool things like that.
Yeah. And the connection there being that God and the devil are actively in charge of the conflict in that, but I haven't read the comics, so I don't know if they actually play characters, but I know that they're basically using John as a pawn. It's a pawn John.
Peter Stormare as the devil is one of the most brilliant pieces of casting ever in the history of casting.
I mean, that moment when he shows up is awesome.
And he's so good at the devil, and he just and he mocks him and all this stuff. It's just a great scene. I'm totally with you. So that was actually on my list, so I'm going to switch it out. So usually what I do is when I do these, I have 5 in case somebody takes one of mine. So I'm going to take out Constantine and insert Legion, which... it's a fine end of world whatever movie, and it has a really cool Star Trek connection because my brain has just stopped working. The guy that, oh my gosh, I'm too tired. Gosh dang it, I'll think of it later. Doug Jones is in that movie. That's what I was trying to say. Doug Jones is in that movie.
Yeah.
Saru.
Yes,
Captain
Saru. I couldn't think of Saru either. My number 2 is going to be Bruce Almighty. Good, fun little comedy there.
You said number 2.
Number 2. My honorable mention, mainly because I just wanted to bring this up for Jesse and Cam, is Thor 3. There, a little Thor 3 there.
But not Thor 4.
But not.
I just want to go on record as saying, but not Thor 4.
There's more gods in Thor 4, though.
There are more gods in Thor 4.
That doesn't make it better.
It's true. It doesn't. So I had a good time with it. But my number 1 is Fievel Goes West, because Tiger the Cat is worshipped as a god.
Okay. Well then, why didn't I put in Return of the Jedi?
Hey, you could have made the shiny metal guy a god. I went with Little G God. I love that movie. Anytime I can use it, I'm going to. If I could have found a way to make Stardust work, I would have, but I couldn't. It's one of those things. And obviously, if I was going to do a Star Trek one, because I usually try to do a Star Trek one in my top 3, this would have been the movie to pick. So obviously that doesn't work here. Andrew.
Well, I also had Monty Python and Bruce Almighty, so I'm going to switch those off the list here. And I had went with some specific gods. So I have Loki in all the Thor films. I have God in Oh God, You Devil. which is an older movie
Mhm.
that I somehow watched when I was really young and probably shouldn't have, but I do remember that. And then number one, I have Gozer from Ghostbusters.
Nice. Very cool. All right. Time for this.
Wait, what's supposed to happen?
Actually, I lied. We did have one person to respond to us on Twitter. Our good friend Drew from Across the Stars podcast said Avengers, Dogma, and Life of Brian. Those were great. So thank you for that.
Life of Brian.
Those are good answers. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, those are good. And Darren just from Nostalgia Cast just simply said, "I love this poster. Of all the Treks, this one is the one that definitely did not need a seatbelt."
It really did.
Yeah, I just saw that poster. I found that poster and thought that's hysterical. It's just
But it's
a
an
great
excellent
poster. It's sad that it got used for this movie.
Yeah.
Well, and it evokes the monster maroon uniform immediately, like by way of a frigging seatbelt. Like it's a brilliant piece of marketing they should totally bring back.
Yeah, it
Should have
is.
saved it for Undiscovered Country.
But it's also kind of weird because the armrests almost look like little bitty arms. And so it looks like there's like this disembodied head, disembodied body floating in space.
Decapitated is the word.
That's the word. I'm very tired. All right. What are we doing now? This is where we give our score from 0 to 10. And I will start this time with Jesse.
Wow. I do not like to go first in the ratings thing, but I mean, I don't know, dude. So like I generally tend to rate on, did I have a good time watching this movie, over do I think this is necessarily objectively a good movie, because I don't really feel comfortable making that call. I don't have enough of a frame of reference to know like, oh, this is well made for like storytelling reasons or something, right? Like I just can tell if I enjoyed myself or if I was like, that sucked. So having said both of those things over the course of watching this movie, I would say that I fall back to, it's still the kind of movie that I would rewatch. Like given a small window to create my notes for this because of my own poor planning, I still was like, I want to do that. Like I would like to watch this movie and talk about it because I think it deserves to be done. I think all Star Trek movies deserve to be watched. And I don't think, for me, I don't think there's any Star Trek movie that falls below like a 6.8, except Nemesis, which is lower than that. But I'm going to give this like a 6 point. You know what? No, I'm going to give it a 6.9.
All right. Right on.
Dude.
Nice.
Because
it's episode 420.
420. Yeah. No, I'm with you. Which I think Andrew might be Andrew's score here. Andrew, what you got?
Well, IMDb parks it at 5.5, I think, somewhere in there. I am not going to go that high. I just did not have a good time with this. And any movie that I can fall asleep to it's not the first time watching it, but second rewatch after a long time, I think has some issues. So I'm going to have to go about a 4.20, if that sounds okay.
Yeah. None of us are surprised. Cameron.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's a lot to like about the movie. The opening is great. That's a great hook that you played at the beginning of this podcast. The opening of this movie is really good. The relationship between the cast is really good. The cantina stuff I love, and then it just all really deflates at the end. I mean, also, it kind of suffers from the same problem, and this is going to be weird that I'm going to say the same problem as Raiders of the Lost Ark, using that to say how bad this is. But the one problem Raiders has that people talk about is if you took the protagonist out, the events would have played out the same. And I feel like this kind of feels the same way. If you took the Enterprise out, I feel like Sybok would have gotten there, would have figured out God wasn't God, and like basically everything would have played out the same. It would have been so good if at that point, if like the God being had gotten onto the Klingon ship and was getting away, and then there were some real stakes, and we find out some backstory on him, and Sybok actually has time to reckon with this like huge mistake and really kind of grapple with his philosophy on life crumbling before him. But none of that happened. We got the third act we got. So this is a 5.8 8 for the number of men on the lookout, 6 for the level that they started at in the turbo shaft, 5.86.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too. You're right on. And right now with our average, we're just above IMDb. We're tracking right above that. I guess so. When I picked this movie many months ago, I picked it because I knew that this conversation would be good. I knew that it's kind of a fun one to poke fun at. And again, I also was hoping Sam would be here to just kind of make fun of this Trek movie because he likes to make fun of Trek and to push my button. But I had a surprisingly good time with this viewing. Again, I watched it with my son a few weeks ago, and he had a good time with it. And I'm really excited to sit down and watch Undiscovered Country with him. And he and I, last night before, he was asking me about the music of Trek and, why it's different. And I talked about, well, gosh, there's been like so many different composers. And that's also a tease because the last episode of this month of Trek will be the music of Star Trek with Eric going to come back on from Cinematic Sound Radio. I'm very excited for that. Anyway, I am here to now give you a score of this movie. So I'm also going to go a little bit higher because this isn't the worst. It's not, I don't know. I think it's kind of fun. And to the point that the argument that we had on Twitter going a while ago, like 3 hours ago, is, this or Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker is prettier because it was made like
Disagree.
It was made a few years ago. I mean, the
characters have arcs.
Disagree.
Well, some characters have arcs, but the opening sequence with the Falcon, doing that light speed skipping, whatever. It's pretty. It's dumb, but it's pretty. And we got to say farewell to Carrie Fisher in kind of a neat way. So that movie has some moment, but I don't know. I actually would rather watch this. So
I think to your point, Sean, I think this of the original cast movies, I think this is the most Star Wars Star Trek that there is. Like, they had the cantina, there's a shootout, there's a lot of lasers going on, right? There's lots of aliens and monsters and stuff. Like, it's pretty Star Warsy.
It really is. It is. And
that's why it's one of the worst.
Yeah. He's bad. I'm going to give it a 6.5. I mean, I had a good time with
you and you walked right into that trap, Sean.
No, I'm fine. But like, I don't hate this movie. I think I like it more than I thought that I did. So, but it's a 6.5. I mean, like
it's 2/3 of a really fun movie.
Well, well, you're right. I mean, and if you were to look at if I were to score out the rest of them, I mean, I think I probably gave Wrath of Khan like a 9.8 or something like that. So a 6.5 is kind of low in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have run out of things to say, so I will let now Jesse or Cameron tell us my listeners where they can find your.
I'm sorry. Well, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but one more thing. I've been staring at Jesse's shirt for the entire podcast.
As you should.
And I'm thinking if this whole podcasting thing doesn't work out for you guys, then you should start your very own disco Trek. And
I think we're going to.
And just play Trek music, but like trap style. And just lights flashing, lots of fog,
a
little bit of liquor. I think you'll have a hop in place.
Glow sticks.
There better be some seriously good music edited behind all that, Sean, when this episode comes out. Like, I want to have my headphones on like, oh, yes, I see what Andrew was talking about.
You could just do Information Society's I Want to Know, which uses sound clips from Star Trek.
See? And I want to know where to find that. I mean, I guess to find that online. But for those of you who can't see my face right now, I am wearing my disco shirt, like as they wear on the bridge or, doing the PT on Star Trek Discovery with my Star Trek Discovery Command badge. So, yes, it's true. We're going to start the Open Pike Night Disco Trek. I really like that. I prefer a nice pun, as you may have noticed, Andrew. Well done.
Yes, that was very, very well crafted.
And if you want to find where that could be, we would be at Open Pike on Twitter. You can find all of Jesse's great posts and polls and Trek baiting and Star Wars hating and all the great content you would come to Open Pike Night for, as well as information on all our shows with all our great upcoming guests. You can also find me at GreenShirt87 is the Twitter account for my Star Trek podcast, Green Shirt, a newbie's trek through the Next Generation, because I am just now getting around to watching the Next Generation. We're starting season 6, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Come join us.
And I forgive Cameron for forgetting this because it is still brand new news even to us. But you can now just go to openpike.com to get everything that there is to know about Open Pike Night. You can get signed up for the newsletter. You can watch the YouTube versions of our episodes, which just have captions. It's not video. You can listen to our episodes. You can do literally anything, including record your own voicemail. And this month, all of November, from November 1st through November 30th, we are having hashtag where November has gone before. And if you go to openpike.com and record a voice message, you can be entered to win a Hallmark Keepsake Strange New Worlds Enterprise light up ornament. This is a $33 value supposedly, but like if you've ever tried to buy a keepsake ornament, you know that it can be very difficult to do. So we are giving them away almost literally for a song. We just need you to record a voice message at openpike.com to help us celebrate hashtag where November has gone before.
Very cool. Thank you guys so much for that. And thank you guys for coming back on the show.
Thank you, Sean.
Yes,
there was
thank
some
you.
sorcery, not a lot of swords, but one out of 4 ain't bad.
I was actually really hoping that there would be somebody wielding some kind of melee weapon so we can
Not
kind
even
of count
Sulu.
this. But
Well,
yeah,
you
not
did
even
talk about
Sulu.
waving the magic wand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
well,
did mention that.
So
there was a
we-
little bit of organized crime. That's sort of like the last time that I was here. Oh, wait, no. The first time I was here was organized crime.
Yeah. So we'll get you back on for a good old, Lady Hawk or something crazy like that.
Awesome.
In the meantime, go to our website, cheapseatreviews.libsyn.com. You can find links to all of our social medias, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. There I post stuff most of the time. Also, check out old episodes. Be like some of our cool listeners who are going back and listening to our entire backlog. That's right. We have listeners that are going back through all 400 plus episodes and listening. And about once a week, I get an update on, oh, hey, I just got to this episode, and that was really funny. So be like
neat.
them and do that. Next week, we are revisited by our good friend, Stephen Everett. That's right. Steve Everett is going to come back and join us. He and I used to watch Star Trek marathons all the time. We would sit down and watch one through whatever was available at the time. The last time we did it, the 9th movie had just come out. Insurrection had just come out on VHS. And so we watched 1 through 9 in one sitting. My gosh, we were crazy. We were also a lot younger. So Steve Everett's coming back on next week to join us for Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. I know it seems weird that we're going out of order, but I let the guests choose which movie they pick, and that's just the way it is. So, on behalf of Jesse and Cameron and Andrew... and
Let me, real quick, also shout out.
Yes.
You know that the new Willow series is coming out at the end of this month, November 30th. So if you want to rewatch Willow and then listen to Sean and I and Andrew and Sam talk about it,
Nice.
Tune into the Cheapseat Reviews Willow episode.
There you go. And go listen to the... God, Jesse, what was your episode? You just talked about
Oh,
it.
and don't forget to go listen to my most recent appearance on Cheap Seat, in which everyone is wrong about the Princess Bride except for
Princess
me.
Bride. Gosh, I couldn't think of what movie was Princess Bride and the other one.
We also did Road to Perdition.
Road to Perdition. Man, I need to go to bed. Guys, this has been great.
All right.
So I'm as soon as I hit stop, I'm going to sleep. So on behalf of Andrew, Sam, Jesse, and Cameron, this is Sean saying thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you next week for the Search for Spock.
This is Cheap Seat Reviews.
Good night, Sean. Good night, Jesse.
Good night,
Andrew.
Cameron.
Good night.
Good night, Gollum poster behind Cameron.
I think
because they did that in the movie, guys, at the campsite.
I know. I'm with you. No,
Good night, Spock.
I said it to Jesse earlier.
Good
He
night,
didn't know what
Spock.
I was
Well,
talking
that
about.
was another question I had about the movie. What is he at the end of that? I was waiting on you to play that clip too. That's why I didn't ask. Why does he say I don't know, or he like? What does he say? Kirk says like I don't know or I don't understand or something like.
Oh,
at the end
Spock's
of that.
asking him something. Is this about row your boat still?
Maybe.
He's like, go to
I
sleep,
couldn't
Spock.
figure out why. I couldn't figure out why he was saying that. And I was like,
I
well,
couldn't
maybe
figure out
it's
why
about that.
Kirk and McCoy couldn't hold their liquor. Like they had 2 sips of whiskey
But there
and were
was,
blitzed.
but there was whiskey in the beans. It's the secret
They
ingredient.
had 1 bite of beans.
Which, okay, like men at their age need to have more food than just a kettle of beans. I'm just saying.
Well, they did bring like 6 bottles of water each, so at least they did that.
At least they had
Also, it's future beans, so it's fine.
future
Like
beans.
it's not a
Space beans.
not a big deal. Yeah, it's not a big deal.